administration. Think about this, 2016.
You want to go out in the front yard and wave it for a while?
Well, the Republicans were 340,000 below the Democrats. Today, they're about 30,000 below the Democrats. That's the smallest margin between Democratic and Republican registrations in like 30 some odd years. And Florida
Don't
was
let
much
the dogs
smaller
knock
state with much less of a
any of this
population
over.
that long ago. And you know,
I just don't want them
has
to
be
knock
factored
stuff
into it. And you may be seeing that tonight. Sumter County, for example,
Maybe that would be best.
has both grown in population and grown in importance as a result. And it's full of seniors. The villages is a senior retirement community with about 10 different or 12 different sort of installations and components of it. And today, Trump has been winning that county with about 90% of the vote in.
Zena, go see Daddy.
Come on, Zena.
Significantly above where he was 4 years ago. I suspect that's in part a sign of what the movement into Florida has done and what the changing nature of the Florida electorate is like.
Hey, Carl, I want to ask one thing. Just interrupt you real quick. We talked about this earlier tonight, and I just want to bring it up now. In all of these states, you have absentee ballots requested.
Just throw your coat over one of those chairs there, Jeff. That'll be fine.
That have been returned. In Florida, as of this afternoon, you had the requested at more than 6 million.
See the way this program does a countdown
As of
timer.
this afternoon,
Yeah.
It's live, the countdown.
4,649 of those ballots have been returned. I'm trying to get an update for tonight. Is that an issue with the separation in some of these states?
I feel that the program's good. It's my
below that
confidence.
number?
Yes, there's some people who just
We've got a bunch of chow out there in the next room.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get something there.
Please feel free to dig in. There's pulled pork, there's buns if you want a sandwich.
And they
Full
decided,
slot.
my wife went and voted at
There's
the early vote location in
cheese
Texas, and
dip
she said, look, Mr. Breeze,
and
walk
green
in,
salsa
walk
dip.
out. Well, I went there, I took my ballot, ran it to
Hey,
the
Victoria.
went to the early vote.
Hey-o.
If I'd shown up with it, it would have
Did I
taken
win
me
yet?
10 minutes to
Not
do
yet.
surrender my blue ballot, sign one form, and then go. Instead, by not having it with me, I had to spend 20
Probably
minutes
gonna have to
and I'm
go
a provisional
to
ballot. But that's the way a lot of people handle it. They just get rid of
Castle
the
Rock
ballot
or
return the
Douglas
ballot
County
and
website
then
to
vote
get
in
the
person.
Yeah.
information you're
Angels
right.
landing?
We can put on a local channel.
I have it on my computer.
Well, I want to see how the Colorado stuff's doing, so please find the local channel. I want to know how the ballot measures are doing, because the local channel will report on the president too.
There was a website that
Have
Beatrice
to have a
put up on
postmark or
Facebook.
a signature on the
We'll have to change the one in the other room too, otherwise it'll be
Arizona,
flashing.
Michigan, Wisconsin, a host of other states. But first, a quick look at where the race stands now.
Well, that didn't work.
Trump has a total of 73 electoral votes in his column.
I still have to go to the other party, but I figured
Channel
I'd at least stop
9
by.
She'll check in with campaigns. Peter Ducey is at the Biden headquarters in Denver.
The official one that Eric and Josh.
Channel 9.
Trump is tonight watching as these results come in. John?
It's a Waters Age winery. It was organized by the official one.
Okay, here's a local.
It's on the Facebook page.
You know what's good about this? Your sign's pointing at my sign. So people are gonna look at my sign.
Yeah, I don't know if you did it or not, but
We've got a bunch of food in the other room. Victoria, if you're hungry.
Switch to progressive and you can save hundreds. You know, like the sign says.
Let me find you a corkscrew. What's that?
Wildly fresh. Organic, fresh produce. Chef prepared. Now you can skip the grocery store and stay healthy at home. Sunbasket delivers totally delicious meals ready in minutes. Fresh and ready meals done in minutes. New from Sunbasket.
When this community hurts, when it reaches out his hand, you pull it to his feet. When the community calls, we respond.
Chicago Wednesday returns November 11th on NBC. D.C.
Mask? Check. Maintaining a safe distance? Check. Phone? Get alerted if you are exposed to COVID-19 with Colorado exposure notifications. It's free, easy, and completely private. Visit addyourphone.com to learn more.
You want to make every game interesting? Step 1, open the BetMGM Sportsbook. Step 2, put some skin in the game. And step 3, showtime. TD, back with K's. All the guys at the TKO's, Now you're in the ring with the king of sportsbooks. You know what to do.
A reading from the Golden Oak Lending Book of Mortgage Lingo.
Equity, untapped property value that can help you build an oasis in your home. Seriously? Right now?
We speak mortgage, and our local loan officers will guide you through every step. Come see what we can do for you.
Election day, the culmination of an intense political season that displayed a wide range of perspectives. The day after the election, we'll be analyzing and explaining what the election means for you. Join us on Mile High Mornings. We'll be providing up-to-the-date coverage of what happened overnight, having conversations with our political experts to provide context and analysis. Kyle Clark will join us to break down what this election means. Post-election coverage on Mile High Mornings starting tomorrow at 4:30 on 9 News.
Welcome back at top of the hour. We have a lot more poll closings, but let's talk about Pennsylvania. Something tells me Andrew Mitchell will be talking about it all night long and
then for several days. One of the really important things about Pennsylvania is that Hillary Clinton only won the suburban counties, the 4 big suburban counties outside of Philadelphia, by 180,000 votes. That was not nearly enough to offset Donald Trump's big strength out west, where Casey Hunt was talking about, Kate Snow was talking about, and the rural vote, the steel workers.
Well, Wayne.
The energy industry.
And I'm going to be getting up and down. So I was squeezing all over here so Wayne could still sit. Because at first I was going to go, I'm just going to steal a seat. And then I was like, no, that's not
Philadelphia will produce a 300,000 vote edge. That's what they really need to do.
I'm going to be up and down.
And that's what they're looking at. The other thing was that it was 70-30 in those rural western Pennsylvania areas.
70-30 for Trump
over Clinton. Yeah. They think that Joe Biden, coming from Scranton, being a working class union guy, can shave that to 64-36, something of that nature. The other surprising thing is that, contrary to what the Biden people had expected, we're seeing in the exit polls that nationally, seniors are going marginally towards
none of them are working class.
People had thought that would be a strong Biden vote. Seniors worried about healthcare, worried about COVID. But so far, it's 51-48, something like that. So for seniors
did not abandon Trump over the coronavirus, but we'll see what happens in the suburbs, as you say.
Let's take a look at North Carolina. A fair amount of the votes in there, Chuck.
No, a lot of the votes in. Biden's holding
your
a
name
lead here,
alone
as you can see,
get your drug addicted son,
lead.
$1 billion,
I'm going to show you something here just so you can see how much vote is
multi-million-dollar
left.
jobs. You're not working class.
We think there's about 1.8 million vote still left to come in, and you see gray counties. For what? In case you're wondering, when you see this, it means we have no vote in them yet. If it's gray, so it's stuff like this. Let me just quickly show you something here, just to show you already Joe Biden's vote total here, 2.149. Okay, with 70% in. Let me just show you Hillary Clinton. When all the votes were counted, it was 2.189. First of all, you could see turnout is way up, but you could see Democratic turnout in particular. And the story is right now in these suburban counties. I showed you Mecklenburg here. Right now, he's got a nearly 200,000 vote lead out of there. Hillary Clinton didn't get but 140,000 out of it. And you can see here, he's even outperforming. Let me go to 08 Obama, because 08 Obama carried North Carolina. And as you can see, he got 100,000 out of Mecklenburg. He could get 200,000. That's how you win the state of North Carolina, guys.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. Joining us now, Jose Diaz-Balart. He's in Florida. He's the anchor of Weekend Nightly News and Noticias Telemundo. And Jose, the Florida story really focuses on the Latino vote and a massive get out the vote and persuasion operation dedicated to South Florida, a place you know well.
I do indeed. Good evening, and it's going to be the story if indeed Donald Trump ends up winning the state of Florida. It could have a lot to do with specifically South Florida and the Latino vote in South Florida, specifically Cuban-American voters, Venezuelan-American voters, Nicaraguan-American voters, and some Colombian-American voters.
Venezuelan
that for the last 3
voters
years,
aren't Too enamored with socialism right now.
Very consistently, insistently, and also there's been a very strong push for the last months that Democrats are socialists, and that attack went unanswered for a long time. Maybe that will have some impact on how Florida ends
And it hasn't been answered yet.
Wait and see.
All right, Jose, my friend, thank you, sir. Much more to come on this election night. We'll be right back.
It's my 912 no days off migraine medicine. It's Ubrelvy for any time, anywhere migraine strikes without worrying if it's too late or where I am. One dose can quickly stop migraine in its tracks within 2 hours.
Unlike older medicines, Ubrelvy is a pill that directly blocks CGRP protein, believed to be a cause of migraine. Do not take with strong CYP3A4 inhibitors. Most common side effects were nausea and tiredness.
Ask about Ubrelvy, the anytime, anywhere migraine
Have they reported it all yet on any local
Did
stuff?
you know that Geico's whole 15 minutes thing, that came from me? Really? My first idea was, in 1/4 of an hour, your savings will tower. Over you, figuratively speaking. But that's not catchy, is it? That's not going to swim about in your brain. So I thought, what about 15 minutes, 15%? Serendipity.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Is that a swing state? And why does it change? Has it been called early? Have they won? What happens now? As the election unfolds, get trusted facts. Free access today at WSJ.com.
Did you just reward yourself for spending a perfectly reasonable amount of time on the couch with tacos from Grubhub? Rewarded.
Sounds like Victoria's.
Get a free delivery perk on your first order.
Tomorrow on Today, we'll have the very latest election updates, live from key battleground states across the country, where the races stand, what you need to know, and what it means for the nation. Tomorrow on Today.
Did you know that Geico's whole 15 minutes thing, that came from me? Really? My first idea was, in 1/4 of an hour, your savings will tower. Over you, figuratively speaking. But that's not catchy, is it? That's not going to swim about in your brain. So I thought, what about 15 minutes, 15%? Serendipity.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. But if you don't know us, we want to introduce ourselves as Les Schwab Alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night, because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Well, we're pushing on toward the 9 o'clock Eastern hour, and there will be a lot of closings coming up at 9 o'clock. Let's walk you through them. Battlegrounds, including Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, Texas, and Wisconsin.
And the fact that we're calling Texas something of a battleground this year shows you what an extraordinary year it is. In just a few moments, we will have those poll closings. We are starting to fill out our map already, some surprises. And one thing that is not surprising, Florida was tight, but so far it is trending in the president's direction. A must win for him tonight.
And as we wait that next big round of poll closings at the top of the hour, we'll pause here briefly. You are watching Decision 2020 on NBC.
Good evening. We are 4 minutes away from polls closing across Colorado. More than 3.1 million ballots have already been returned in this state. We have topped our 2016 turnout. One of the big questions tonight is whether Democrats can build on their almost total control of government in Colorado or whether Republicans can put up some roadblocks. The longest wait time to vote in Denver right now is at the Barnum Rec Center on the west side of town. It's a bit more than
30 minutes. Waiting to vote in Colorado is almost unheard of right now. And in fact, most of the polling places in Denver, where about 1 in 10 votes come from, no wait at all. Once we hit 7 o'clock, county elections workers across Colorado's 64 counties will begin to tabulate the millions of early votes that have already been scanned into their systems. So we're going to get a big report out all at once because they have already been scanned in. We are going to be live wall-to-wall on Channel 20 KTVD as well as 9news.com and on the 9 News app as that first wave of results come in. Democrats across America hope to come closer to controlling the U.S. Senate tonight by defeating Colorado's Republican Senator Cory Gardner, replacing him with Colorado's former Governor John Hickenlooper, who really wanted to be president, an interest that was not shared by Democratic primary voters.
I'm Liz Kodale covering Colorado Senate race, specifically Democrat and former Governor John Hickenlooper. And we're a state that Democrats across the country are counting on to turn a Senate seat blue. Because of recent polls that favor Hickenlooper to win tonight, Dems are confident that voters will make that happen here in Colorado. What's at stake here is big for Democrats this election cycle, a simple majority in the United States Senate. No watch parties for Hickenlooper tonight. He's going to be watching from home and then giving a speech from home as soon as results come in.
I'm Jennifer Meckles, tracking Republican Senator Cory Gardner's campaign today. Gardner is a vulnerable incumbent in a race considered one of the keys to Democrats taking a U.S. Senate majority this year. He's been on the move, rallying last-minute voters with several stops on the Western Slope yesterday and today, traveling the Front Range, stopping in Windsor, Brighton, and Castle Rock. He's appeared alongside other Republicans like congressional candidate Lauren Boebert, as well as Congressman and Colorado GOP Chairman Ken Buck. No big public watch parties tonight. It's a COVID precaution, but once we have results, we expect to hear from Gardner virtually. Jennifer Meckles, 9 News.
A reminder, we are about to begin our live local commercial-free coverage on Channel 20. We will be with you up until 10 o'clock over there, where we'll have a mix of Colorado results and the national picture. We are
it says local, go to Channel 20 for local results.
Along the swing states of
Right?
Arizona, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Texas. Return you now to NBC coverage of Decision 2020.
I don't know if it's our 20.
Ephesians says that this thing you can be confident that those that are impure and immoral
No,
will
this is
not
a
inherit
Christian
the kingdom
station.
of God. So as women of God, we've
They
got to
said their
teach
Channel
women,
20. That doesn't
this is
mean
what
it's our
God says.
cable
This is how
Channel
you
20.
live His ways. This is what His Word says. You stand up for the sanctity of marriage and family and protect your seed, your godly seed. No matter.
These are all very important states we've been watching and potential paths to victory for both candidates.
And let's look at some of the results we do have in. Florida is counting votes fast. It's too close to call there. Pennsylvania, too early to call.
In Georgia,
Can we,
too
like,
early
not
to
stay on
call.
national?
Also, North Carolina, too early. And Ohio, too early.
And let's look at Ohio. It is too early to call there, too. And for folks wondering, yes, we had early voting either in person or by mail like we've never seen before. 100 million people voted before Election Day. And if you are wondering, yes, we've taken that into account when we give you that expected vote number. It
This is
includes
local, doesn't
the
look it.
estimated early vote as well as the day of vote. And we're awaiting those 9 o'clock poll closings. Texas and Arizona, big Latino populations, but a different kind than what we've been talking about in Florida. Andrew, hold that thought because we do want to mention, here we go, Texas, too early to call at this hour.
So you think we should stay on this one?
In Arizona, it is also too early to call, as you might expect.
Michigan, too early to call.
Got some results in from Minnesota.
Wouldn't it be in the
not
low
many,
channels?
actually. Too early to call there. Wisconsin, it's going to be a long one. And in New York, Biden will pull that one out and not shock anyone.
Colorado, too early, but Biden has a lead there. Kansas, too early. And Louisiana, too early. Biden, though, with the lead.
All right, and let's look at Nebraska. Too early to call there. We're keeping an eye on that one particular congressional district that can be quite competitive. In New Mexico, it is too early to call. In North Dakota, too early to call, but the president is leading.
So, same story in South Dakota. The president leading too early to call. And Wyoming, it's too early to call. Trump with a lead there.
So let's put up our map of 270 and let's see how it shakes out at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 o'clock.
You need to go down to the
And
low channels.
there you have it. Numbers don't quite tell the story. We're going to have to wait for all the votes to be counted. Andrea, we were talking about Texas and Arizona. Now the polls have closed. They'll start counting the votes. The Latino vote, incredibly important there.
Incredibly important. And as Chuck was saying,
Oh, I got my phone upside down. Don't want to do that. I do this all the time. Gotta flip it over.
He has true inclusivity.
Okay. We should have did this first. Yeah, but that was supposed to give us photos. Because it didn't seem like the right one. Because it didn't seem like the right one. What's that? Well, if you want to go back there, you can. It's just...
I got it. Raven, get the defibrillator.
Where?
We have, if he's going to win Ohio, if Joe Biden's going to make a comeback in Ohio, he's going to have to flip a whole bunch of what we call the Obama-Trump counties. All of these counties here right now, and what you see in the red, if they're red, they're still trending Trump, and if they're blue, they're trending Biden. So we can see here, Wood County, a small county here, this is right now, but you can see Trump narrowly carried it, but he carried it by 8 points because ton of third-party vote here. Ton of third-party vote. Really well. Much better there. But as you can see, this is a county that Obama carried. Biden hasn't caught his number there, but he's getting close, and he's obviously going to outperform Obama 12. So I'm going to be monitoring all of these Obama Trump counties, particularly in Ohio, because the only path for Biden to somehow pull the Ohio upset is if he's going to take most of these counties that Trump carried and flips most of them, if not all of them, back to blue.
But polls have had the president pretty far ahead in Ohio.
Well, all this year, it's been interesting. He's been ahead, but the margins have been smaller. It's been a little bit of older voters, and there is a bit of Joe Biden. It plays a little bit better in Ohio than maybe any other Democrat that
that's
had run,
going online, the
that had run
local
for president during the
ABC.
primary.
Want to put up Florida again because we've changed our characterization there, or have we?
ABC showed 7, I think.
Yeah, it says Denver
Okay,
7.
Trump now officially leading in Florida. 29 electoral votes are watching there. Chuck.
Okay.
I'm going to go to Kristen, who's at Biden headquarters. Hey, Kristen, what's the talk there as Florida starts to slip out of their hands?
Voice commands aren't
Well,
working
they
right
are
now.
acknowledging that, Savannah, and I'm told by officials that they're in a wait-and-see mode, but they still feel very confident about their path to 270. And look, we go back.
Or is it going to lean one way or the other? What all the districts are going to look like?
I'm also
Yeah,
curious,
because-
George, what you think. We've seen this
Well,
unbelievable enthusiasm.
They
We
said they're
reported
going to be
earlier this
covering
amazing
all the
turnout
local
of
stuff
younger
because I
voters.
Googled
Do you think
Colorado
that
best
this
Comcast
engagement
station
sticks
for local
around
election
after
coverage?
tonight?
I do. Listen, let's be honest. President Trump, based on personality alone, is a huge motivating force for voters. Some for, some against. Obama was the same way. We didn't see that same thing out of Hillary
It looks like
Clinton.
7 or 9, but 9 kept saying it was on a different
Even
station.
if he pulls off a victory
Well,
here.
9 kept
So it'll
going back
taper
to
off to some extent. But I think in Colorado, we've had now demonstrated success
Or we could always
with
flip between
mail-in
those
voting
two and
for a
see.
long enough period of time that what you're seeing here is baked into the populace. It's an expectation, and it's something that we're good at doing, and I think you're going to see high turnout numbers for the foreseeable future.
We do have some Senate numbers in. These are just in. John Hickenlooper showing 70% to Corey
Oh my
Garner's
God.
29%, and that's with 9% reporting
Yeah,
right
but
now.
still, that's a trend.
Hickenlooper's a scumbag. I hate to see that.
No, with 9% report, look, it's going to get much more narrow than that. The 9%, I presume, is Denver or Boulder or something like that. But that's not reflective of what's going to happen at the statewide level.
Well, we'll see.
All right, we are still seeing. I think we have a live shot of some of the lines that
You're
that really
forgetting to
is
show
remarkable
somebody.
To me, George, with the incredible early voting we've seen. How do you think early voting has gone, and are you a proponent for your party nationally to lean into vote by mail?
I think the vote by mail thing is the future, and Colorado once again has led the way in something
I don't have
that's
a
going to
Twitter
sweep the
account.
nation. I think
If I had a
part
Twitter
is
account,
true.
I'd tweet
I think what we've seen this year is a little unusual in that in the years past, we've seen the Republicans show up early and get their ballots voted, and Democrats really end up showing up big in those last couple days. I think what we've seen here is the reverse. The enthusiasm from the Democrats to get out their vote, whether it was to thumb their nose at Trump or just to prove that the mail-in voting system could work. They crushed it early, but they cannibalized that end of the cycle voting. And I think a lot of Republicans probably heeded some of the comments that the president made, hung on to their ballots to the end so that they could personally walk them in. And we've seen that in sort of the results here in terms of turnout at the very end.
All right, George Brockler, our Republican expert tonight. George, thank you for your time. We will see you for the rest of the night, so buckle up.
So don't go far. And as we continue our coverage right here on Denver 7, we want to share these new numbers about the race for president here in Colorado. And Joe Biden showing a lead of 71% to Donald Trump's 27%. Again, 9% of the precincts reporting, so these numbers are early, but this is our first look at what may be coming up.
That's right. And we're just getting started with the Denver 7 360 coverage of election 2020. Well, our coverage continues on streaming, and of course, ABC News will take it from there.
Denver 7 is live with local election coverage, and it's on right now. I sit down for an exclusive interview with Mayor Michael Hancock, plus in-depth 360 reporting as results start to come in. Denver 7 is live right now on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or other device.
Colorado temperatures can change dramatically in a matter of minutes, and that can be tough on homes. That's why Lifetime offers Infinity from Marvin Windows and Doors. Their products are made from Ultrax fiberglass, which is 8 times stronger than vinyl.
I'm
They
signing
keep
up
your
for
home
Twitter
warm
just
in the
to
winter
tweet at
and
them.
cool in the summer. And Infinity offers a wide range of color and design
Frickin'
options
hate
so
Twitter.
homeowners get exactly what they want. Plus, Infinity from Marvin was just recognized as #1 in customer satisfaction by J.D. Power.
Call now to
That's
schedule
not
a
really
free
effective,
in-home
though, for that
consultation.
kind of thing. It's effective for some kinds of things.
At Carpet Exchange, we have everything for your floors.
Verify my
Carpet,
phone
tile,
number.
Hardwood, we've got it. Area rugs, Cortec waterproof floors. If you can walk on it, we've got it. Over 1,000 different styles. Over 25,000 different colors. We've got everything for your floors, all at the guaranteed lowest price.
I
At
cannot
Carpet
believe I'm
Exchange,
freaking signing
your
up for
floor store.
Twitter.
Locally owned and
God
operated in
damn it.
Colorado for over 30 years. Carpet Exchange.
I'll delete it after this, probably.
I raised over $3,600 through crowdfunding to translate Moby Dick into emoji.
Though I
chasing
tell
a
you,
whale,
when
an emoji whale.
what was
But on this
Cruz was
Colorado
ripping
Day,
Dorsey a new
they're causing
asshole,
more war than you've ever seen.
that was beautiful.
There's more to the story. Denver 7 360 reporting.
Slammed by the coronavirus. Almost 6,000 new cases, 52 deaths today. It is a big problem, and it is an issue that has been hovering over this state. So for that reason, a lot of people are just sending their votes in. We saw a woman dropping her ballot off this afternoon. The polls just closed, so they're going to be processing those votes overnight. And in Milwaukee, for instance, there are poll watchers there. Each party got 15 people standing around watching all of those votes as they come in.
Now Texas is considered a swing state.
Weather has been good. 2 weeks ago there was snow. Today there was sunshine. So at the very least, things seem to be moving fairly smoothly here in Wisconsin. But it may be a long night. George.
Okay, Deborah Roberts, thanks very much. We're just hearing now that.
And I think it's just the big cities are just taking over.
Trump again, not a surprise right there. South Dakota will go to Donald Trump tonight. So
But it's funny, you look at these maps and it's just a mini example of why the Electoral College is good, but it's almost like you need something like that in the States. Why should all the outlying counties get ruled by Denver? Or
at this stage, George, I looked at the map as it is right now. We're still waiting for some areas to come in, including Akron and some of the suburbs outside of Cleveland. But looking at the map right now, the way it looks, it actually resembles more 2012 than it does 2016, and that's good news for Democrats right now. A lot of the swing counties that President Trump won 4 years ago, they've swung back for Joe Biden. One county that we're looking at right here, this is Delaware County, the suburbs outside of Columbus. This used to be a Republican election. You can see President Trump won.
But right now, yeah, it's just crazy. Not, of course, when I said the question, why should the outlying counties get ruled by Denver? Of course, the question that was screaming at me already in my mind is why should anybody be ruled by anybody? But we're dealing with the system we have right now.
Democrats are doing very well
Freaking.
with the early vote. Joe Biden on top 60% to 40%, so 20 points right there. But from the momentum,
I thought Trump was expected to win Ohio.
Joe Biden is winning where he needs to be.
Okay, Tom, thanks very much.
He's going to take it.
Said, Ohio, a must-win for the president.
A must-win for the president, George, and our team is in touch with sources close to the president. And I got to tell you, we are.
Well, let me tell you one thing. You guys might. Well, I know definitely David will agree. If Biden wins, and I think he is, maybe the Libertarian Party will remember we're not a bunch of leftists when there's finally a leftist in power again. That will remember that because we seem to have forgotten that.
Then it should be. They're kicking themselves.
Of course,
frankly, for
they'll
not
do
having
the
gone
opposite
there
then
more. The Trump team
and
did not
become
hold any rallies in Ohio
way
over
too kissy-uppy
2020
to
compared
the
what
other
was
side.
5 in Pennsylvania
They don't know how to
this
just be
past
freaking
weekend
libertarians,
alone.
but
They had to cut ad spending there in the final weeks because of this cash crunch that they were.
because swinging to the other way is what went on when we got Bar Root. That was just totally kissing conservative ass.
It's a minor incident, really, in the grand scheme of the things we cover here in this White House.
But still, I'm tired of the pretending like we're communists or sympathetic, or we won't take a stand on property rights. You know?
The company, he accused the company of banning its employees from wearing his MAGA gear. Goodyear is based in Akron, Ohio, George.
She really wasn't, though. She didn't message it properly. But if you talked with her, I mean, she was focusing on the police brutality issue and none of the peripheral issues, or very few of the peripheral issues.
This state was in
And
place.
same thing with Spike.
And that appears to be reflected in these numbers that we are seeing so far tonight. Biden's team is encouraged very much so by what
I know.
we're seeing coming out so far.
I mean, that's really all I'm going to say. I don't.
About suburban women, because in these preliminary exit data, suburban women backed Trump by 9 points in 2016. But tonight, in this preliminary data, suburban women are narrowly backing Biden. That bodes well for Biden's team, not just in states like Ohio, but also as you look to those other critical Midwestern states like Michigan and Wisconsin.
Well, I said it wrong. No, I don't think Biden's going to win. I think Harris is going to win.
4 years ago, we also see, George, to the power of women voters.
We got to move.
Will determine the outcome of this election. They were critical to delivering Donald Trump to the White House. Women voters tonight could be critical to taking it back.
No one is voting for Biden. They're voting against Trump because they all know he's senile. Excuse me. Because his rallies have nobody there. Like, nobody is passionate about Joe Biden.
A group of women,
It's just
several of them were Republicans, and they switched to Joe Biden. It was right on that character issue once again. Character, chaos. Juju Chang talked about that as well. That's what those women were concentrating on. And let me channel the late Cokie Robert here for a minute, George. This is the centennial of the 19th Amendment. Women have only had the vote in this country for 100 years, and as Mary said, they may determine that tonight. But you also want to listen to what Donald Trump has been saying to women, especially suburban women, which doesn't land very well with many of them. I'm also getting your husbands back to work. They want to get back to work, right? You know how many women are in the workforce in 2019.
Okay, I'm tweeting 9.
Age 16 and over were employed.
Who else should I tag on it? I tagged LP National, LPCO. It's tweeted at Denver 9, but like who should I tweet on it that I think might pick it up?
Talking down the mail-in vote.
We don't do that. We don't. I want someone who's going to read it and retweet it. We don't tweet. So maybe Reason Magazine.
A lot of the issues that Joe Biden sort of laid out, he said, we have to take care of the virus first. The economy will come with it second. The Ohio exit polls
and I know them.
The economy open the country first before the coronavirus. They prefer
who else
Trump
do I
to
think
Biden handling the economy. They prefer Trump to Biden handling the pandemic. So, given what we're seeing in the exit polls, and again, one of the other trends that we're also seeing is Donald Trump is underwater in Ohio. It's one of his strongest showings tonight in the preliminary exit polls so far.
Come in.
So this would show
Oh, you got to pull up. You have to lift up.
President Trump in Ohio. I do wonder.
It's opposite. I don't know why. Hey.
Come
on in. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. We have a table in the another room with All kinds of drinks and all kinds of food. Help
If
yourself.
we're getting shy on the pulled pork, let me know, because I have 3 more in the cooler. They're ready to go.
Sweet. 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some patriotic wine.
You did that because of me, didn't you?
I did. Look.
I know.
Stars
You're
and
just
stripes.
triggering the living hell out of
See,
me.
I just love it's like it's too libertarian, you know.
I think I'm gonna have to go downstairs and wrap myself in my ANCAP flag and suck my thumb.
There, in the big cooler, there is beer, sodas, mixers. If you want hard liquor, we have some of that.
Okay.
But just let me know what you want.
Sweet. Sounds great. Awesome. How was
plenty of food out there.
If I was smart, I would have put up, see, because it's right near our Gadsden flag.
Yes. Oh, you should have. Yeah, that would have been awesome. What's that?
Still good.
I was just talking about how I love these CDs and I haven't seen one in forever.
Ozempic is helping many people with type 2 diabetes like Emily lower their blood sugar. A majority of adults who took Ozempic reached an A1C.
Well, I'm just gonna keep pestering Denver 9 all night. Why not? It's the only person I know on Twitter right now that I can pester. God damn it, though, man. But I will not be a Twitter person.
It lowers the risk. Oh.
Is that channel 9? Channel 7 is wrong right now.
Ozempic is not for people with type 1 diabetes or diabetic ketoacidosis. Do not share needles or pads. Don't reuse needles. Do not take Ozempic if you have a personal or family history of medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome, or if you are allergic to Ozempic. Stop taking Ozempic and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, itching, rash, or trouble breathing. Serious side effects may include pancreatitis.
I'm waiting for Joshua to click in. I'm going to merge our streams.
Sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk.
And then I can keep flipping them between the two.
Stomach pain and constipation. Some side effects can lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems.
Once weekly Ozempic is helping me reach my blood sugar goal.
But he actually is stuck in South America.
You may pay as little.
So he wasn't able to do much except for a couple of Facebook posts and stuff like that. But I mean, he couldn't really campaign or anything. But it'll be interesting to see what he gets. But basically, just being a line holder candidate. And
How many candidates are in that race?
There's 3.
3? Oh, okay.
So it'll be interesting to see if it's like typical 2 or 3%. No, he got 4 in the. He ran for House District in 2018. They got 4%. He's one of the higher ones.
Doing it there.
You know, I really expected Colorado to do better for the conservative idea. It seems like that's where all the support has been. But there's an awful lot of people that are voting against Trump. Pull up a chair, Chad.
Alrighty then. Am I going to be in the way if I sit here?
No, or you could go over there. There's plenty of room.
Okay.
Because I'm going to be up and down.
It's funny. It depends on what poll you look at and who's in the lead.
Depends on whether
Okay, you
come.
need to put it back on.
Depends upon
Why do
whether
you keep making stuff? We're here for this.
I predicted all along that Donald Trump was going to win Florida. He's right on the issues, and he's done an unbelievable job with the Hispanic vote. You can look at those Miami-Dade numbers and see how the state completely changed. This race completely changed when Donald Trump put all that effort into dealing with the Castro regime, the Maduro regime, and it paid off with the Hispanic vote in our state. I won the Hispanic vote, and look in the end, it's going to look like Trump did a really great job with the Hispanic vote.
Well, he was able to pull away by even more than you did in 2018.
I'm going to go over to the Colorado group and try to talk some people there into tweeting at Denver 9.
But look, in Florida, we don't like high
Why the hell not?
Talk about the biggest tax increase in history of the country, and it doesn't go well. We like our law enforcement. We're a 49-year low crime rate. The Democrats' defund in place didn't help Joe Biden. The economy is really important to Floridians, and Donald Trump is Donald Trump is down against the Castro regime of Missouri, which is the opposite of what Obama Biden did. So it's helping Trump a whole bunch in this state. I thought he'd have a big win. I put up an ad for him to get the vote out. They got the vote out today to make sure he's going to have a big win.
Because it's too much of a fear-based election.
Now project that Joe Biden is going to win the state of Colorado, and it's not electoral votes. Matt Gutman is there in Denver, Colorado.
Right.
Matt, what do you make of it?
At this time, he's a known
It's not a very big surprise here. Democratic candidates have
Well, I
won
think we almost know what you're getting with Biden as well.
The Senate, it's been
In the fact that he was VP prior to.
very unusual. This is something that's
So,
been forecasted all along. I want to give you a sense of where we are.
not that I.
The polling station here in Denver, and what you're looking at looks like watching the paint dry. It looks boring, but all of these people are working within this system to count the ballots. It's incredible, the tenderness with which they are caring for each ballot. A lot of talk tonight about whether or not the elections are rigged, whether or not there has been fraud. I can give you a sense that here it is working like a well-oiled machine. George.
How to count votes by mail in Colorado, done it for a long time. Matt, thanks very much. 9 states for Joe Biden, 7 for Donald Trump, 89 to 51 in the Electoral College.
States are the number of votes, electoral.
Did you know the guy goes whole 15 minutes thing? That came from me. Really? My first
That should be
idea
done
was,
an hour
in
before we
1/4
get
of an hour, your savings will tower.
before they start calculating the
But that's not catchy, is it? That's not going to swim about in your brain.
at least
So I thought, what about 15 minutes, 15%? Serendipity.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
This is why we no longer have to worry flushing too much toilet paper will back up our system. But Dad, Rid-X contains billions of enzymes proven to break down even paper to help keep your whole septic system healthy. For paper, grease, or waste breakdown, use Rid-X.
Your most life-changing sleep is about what's underneath. Inside a Casper mattress, 1,501 perforations create a cooling system so effective you won't be awake to notice. Only on a Casper mattress. Only at Casper.com. Wednesday night, get ready for a con so big, so outrageous, never seen anything like it before. Meet the Prince, pretending to be part of one of the world's richest royal families. Live it large, but
Holy cow, who is this person?
He sold
approximately $8.1 million.
where was all this money coming from? Buckle up.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm Whoopi Goldberg. This is the con.
Before I left Alaska,
Wednesday
we
night.
had been in the house 2 years, and since it was last time it was actually
Alaska too?
Yeah.
Yeah, from English.
Just moved here this summer from Fairbanks, and lived in North Pole.
Oh, awesome.
Good evening once again, everybody. This is your Denver 7 election update. I'm Shannon Ogden.
I'm Ann Trujillo. We are delighted you are here with us this evening on this historic night here in Colorado and across the nation. In fact, we are getting the first results in, and we want to show you what we know right now, starting with the race for U.S. Senate. And as you can see, with 44% reporting, John Hickenlooper is leading with 60% to Cory Gardner's 38%.
We have some congressional races coming in now as well. Are we going to pull those up? Oh, actually, we'll start with the president. And ABC News has already called the presidential race here in Colorado. Joe Biden defeats Donald Trump here in Colorado with the 9 electoral votes.
Okay, we'll get to some of the House races now. And again, Diana DeGette already declared the winner in District 1 with 76%. And the 2nd Congressional District, Joe Neguse with 32% in, handily winning 70% to 28%.
All right, on to the, this is the one everybody's watching, both here in Colorado and nationally.
Blue wave again.
Newcomer Lauren Boebert, gun-packing restaurateur down in the southern part of the state is up with
Bobbitt is winning.
Half the district's reporting.
She's the gal that owns that restaurant.
Democrat Diana Mitz-Bush.
Yeah.
But I think so many people feel like that one, we might be into the late hours.
Yeah, that one's not necessarily a slam dunk, right?
And the 4th Congressional District, Ken Buck, who's also
The Gallagher repeal is passing handily.
29% reporting. I think this might be a little closer than some had expected, but again, still preliminarily.
Yeah. Well, they lied about the wording too, which is ridiculous.
I'm sorry, 29% was it?
I think that was right. I gave him away. And I didn't have my readers on. U.S. District, Congressional District 5.
Income tax cut is losing.
Incumbent up handily, at least race right now.
All these people want to pay more. Be my guest. You don't get to decide. I get to pay more. Yeah, if you want to pay, listen, I'm not stopping you. You want to pay more, I am not stopping you. But fuck you, you think you can say I have to pay more.
48% reporting. Denver's mayor, Michael Hancock, joins us in the
Oh,
studio.
man.
Some specific ballot issues, important ones for the city of Denver. Denver, as I'm sure you saw coming in, there is a homeless encampment just outside of the Denver 7 studios right now, and there is a Measure 2B would increase the sales tax to address some of that. So where are you on that, and what are you hearing?
It's a very important initiative, Shannon, and it'll provide for some much-needed resources to continue and to expand a lot of the services, particularly around housing and linked services for our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness in Denver. You know, Denver has been one of those cities that is focused on the programming so that we try to fit and tailor our approach to individuals.
Allegedly. I
we have
remember
not been
we
one of
talked.
those cities and counties that pursue the dollars first. And so now that we've got programming pretty tight around housing and linked services, now we got to make sure we fund it. And that's what 2B does for us.
And
so I'm glad to see it passing.
And 2A also is a sales tax, 2.5 cents per $10 purchase.
Okay, the late term abortion was failing by a long margin.
I did support. It was following a task force that we put together and recognized that as a city and in a region, quite frankly, a nation, we're falling behind in addressing climate change. And enough of the experts have said to us, if we don't get moving in doing things to stabilize and to cut our carbon emissions in this state, in this city, we're going to find ourselves in a lot of trouble. It's going to cost us a lot more to address. And so, and with 2A allows us to do again those resources necessary.
Of course. We're going to charge you more so it doesn't cost you more.
And automobile emissions.
Dig the hole and fill it back in. Dig the hole and fill it back in.
Always good to see both of you. Thanks for having us.
We appreciate your time. Again, we have more than 3.1 million Coloradans who have voted today, an impressive turnout today. If you're looking for live election night coverage, please join us on Denver 7 News for your Roku, Android, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.
All right, we'll be live at 6 o'clock. We'll be here till
Mask.
Does anyone want any?
Maintaining a safe distance.
And I still got.
Are you live streaming?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
She's always live
Who's
streaming.
watching?
Oh, I don't know. And it's flipped, so it's this camera facing this way. Oh, what? Here's Joshua.
You know, honestly, I'd be concerned if you weren't live streaming.
Yeah.
I'd be like, something's wrong.
If anybody has a desire to smoke, the garage is open.
All right, Darren. You probably not here. Joshua.
What's that, Castle Rock?
Oh, that Castle Rock, there it is.
Yeah.
I think that's Ross over there. That's Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this one says that Amendment B might actually fit. Oh, there you go. Just barely. Oh, yeah. Like, remember when it's a most amendment for 55%? I think so. Okay, so it's going to go. It's going to go. And some of those amendments, they just went down to the wire. Like 301, the decriminalized shrooms in Denver. We didn't get the results of that until Wednesday. They called it as a no. Then when the last few results came in, it was like, wait a minute, yes, it passes. So the guy who did the repeal might actually get
Trump cut out.
I'm actually pretty happy with how Vermont is doing given the circumstances. I mean, none of us are great. Honestly, this is a bad year. I've been telling this to everybody. It's like, you know how the Detroit Lions say they're in a rebuilding year? That's what we're doing this year.
There's multiple groups in the room, but for those of you that are here at Lincoln Club, Colorado, I want to thank you all for being here this evening.
But only 41% of the expected vote. Yeah, George, it's a little strange. It's kind of interesting right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Democrats have been winning the state.
Say that again?
Red counties,
No, that's all the buttons we have. Let me see if I have something that'll work. I'll go behind it.
DC, this area right here, you have Alexandria, Fairfax, Arlington. These are areas where Democrats need to run up the score, and that's how they end up winning the state. Places like Fairfax, it's actually pretty close when you look at 4 years ago. Joe Biden's underperforming, and that's why I say the numbers are a little strange right now in Virginia, Prince William County. Here's another thing. It's neck and neck. This was a county that Clinton clearly won 4 years ago. So it's sort of interesting when we're looking. to vote early there. Unfortunately, right now, all we have is that 57% of the vote is going to be early vote. We don't see who's on top right now, George.
Okay, Tom Yamas, thanks very much. Let's bring in Senator Tim Kaine. Tim, we were just hearing from Tom
What?
Yamas. It shows we got a lot of vote in.
Are they? Colorado, man. We gotta move.
Called Virginia at 7:36 because of the early vote totals are so strongly Democratic. About 70% of the 2016 total got cast early, and we know what those numbers are. And just by way of comparison, the AP called Virginia at 11 o'clock in 2208, at 1 a.m. in 2012, and at 10:30 in 2016. So calling Virginia 3 hours earlier suggests very, very strong night in Virginia. Mark Warner's won big. We feel good about our congressional races. And because Virginia is now heavily suburban, we think that also probably bodes well for suburbs in places like North Carolina, Georgia, Philly, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and the upper Midwest. So we feel really good in Virginia. We hope it sends a message and is an indicator elsewhere.
Of course, you were part of the Hillary Clinton campaign 4 years ago. What feels different to you this time around?
I mean, the tremendous surge of early vote. I mean, that shows not only people taking and trying to protect themselves from COVID, but it also shows intense energy. And George, as you know, we know who the early voters are. We don't know how they voted, but if Tim Kaine votes early, we can see, well, Tim Kaine has only voted ever in Democratic primaries. That's a Democratic vote. And we're seeing this really strong early vote in many states that gets often reported a little bit later, even if it comes in early. Early vote is strong. Their early vote is disproportionately young people compared to 4 years ago. And then states that are battlegrounds that never have been. Georgia, Arizona, Texas, for God's sake. We are competitive in states where it's very, very tough.
So you're feeling good about the whole night, not just your state?
Yes, absolutely.
Senator Kaine, thanks very much for your time tonight. We can project now the state of South Carolina is going to go to Donald Trump. South Carolina, strong red state. Donald Trump won it 4 years ago. He's going to win it again tonight. Janae Norman is in South Carolina.
Yeah, hey George, we expected this. This is a state that hasn't voted for a Democrat for president since 1976. President Trump's support has remained steady, and exit polls showing that the president approval rating is about 55%. But one thing that we're watching big here is, of course, the Senate race here. It is a fierce battle, and Republicans are on defense. Few places is that more true than here in South Carolina. Think about this. Lindsey Graham, he is a household name, a 17-year incumbent in a Republican stronghold. He was expected to easily win re-election a few months ago, but now he's in the fight of his political life. He has been on TV to essentially beg for donations to try to beat Jamie Harrison. Jamie Harrison at one point raised more than $57 million in just over 3 months. He is one of those candidates that Democrats are hoping can help them flip some red seats blue. So that is what we're watching tonight here, George.
Okay, Janae, thanks very much. We can't project
Man.
that yet, but you just heard that chime. That means we can project that
Blue wave.
Senate race in Colorado. Former Governor John Hickenlooper is going to defeat Cory Gardner, the incumbent Republican.
I just don't want one of the terrible two to control everything. I'd rather them just be fighting with each other and get nothing done, because that's better.
3 of 5 wins for the Democrats, 4 if he doesn't.
Yeah, and this was probably their top target to pick up. Cory Gardner tied himself quite closely to Donald Trump, actually tried to avoid comment whenever there was anything controversial. Hickenlooper, the former governor, of course, briefly ran for president, recruited to run for this seat. No surprise this is the first pickup.
Hey there.
How is everybody?
It's going good. We got food and drinks in the other room.
About to check out this wine I got.
Oh, okay.
I did it to piss off Karen.
Not to trigger me, not to trigger me.
Democrats wanted to pick up to turn from red to blue.
Why are you wearing a mask? There's nobody around you. And you make right. Wayne doesn't hear well, and you can only really tell what you're saying if you can see your mouth.
The polls have favored Hickenlooper all along, but this is one state.
Plus, it isn't even totally over his nose, so it's not even effective.
From red
to win tonight, George.
Matt Cummins, thanks very much. Bruce, your day job is covering Capitol Hill. I wanted you to pick up on what John Carl was just talking about.
That is like
Cory Gardner, one of those senators who, whenever President Trump got in a little bit of trouble, he disappeared.
It was amazing how all of a sudden Cory Gardner would become very hard to find in the halls of the Capitol in those moments. Look, as John was saying, he was viewed as the most vulnerable Republican tonight. There are several others that Democrats are keeping a close eye on. And I have to say, George, Republicans know that there is a very real risk that they could lose their Senate majority tonight. In addition to Colorado, which we now know the result in, they're keeping a very close eye on Arizona. They feel very strongly, Democrats do, that they have a chance to defeat Martha McSally in that race. They're also feeling optimistic about possibly Iowa, Maine, and North Carolina. The Senate race in Georgia is now looming as a very real possibility, with actually 2 races there tonight, and both Republican senators at risk there. Democrats can see that they are likely to lose a seat in Alabama, Doug Jones's seat. That means if you go back to the math here, if they lose that seat, they would then need to pick up 4 seats. Democrats would if Joe Biden wins, because in that instance, Kamala Harris would then become the tiebreaker as vice president. If Donald Trump wins, that means the Democrats would then have to pick up 5 seats if they do lose that race in Alabama.
Mary Bruce, thanks very much. Let's take a deeper dive now in the state of Pennsylvania. We've been calling that the most critical battleground of the night tonight. 19% of the expected vote
Yeah,
is in
Wayne
right now.
doesn't understand. I say please and thank you to the dog.
Why don't you try to
He
run
doesn't
through
get
some
it.
of the key counties in Pennsylvania we're going to be watching?
George, we were just looking at Pennsylvania a little closely, and the numbers are really all over the place. There's not really a narrative we can really talk about at this point. For instance, I'll give you a scraping right here. Lackawanna, Donald Trump is on top in Joe Biden's hometown, and he's overperforming there for Republicans. We go just south, Lucerne County. This is Wilkes-Barre. This is a swing county that Donald Trump won 4 years ago. Tonight, Joe Biden's on top, but again, only 29% of the voting. On the big cities where Democrats really have to win, Allegheny, Pittsburgh, you can see how high Joe Biden's there. That's the type of number Democrats want to make sure they can hold in Pennsylvania, not only in Pittsburgh, but also in Philadelphia. Let me open this up a little more as we get to Philadelphia in the suburbs.
Oh.
George, look, I don't want people to have a freak out here. 93%, that's obviously incredible, but there's only 9% of the vote in at this moment. Let me squeeze this down a little bit. We'll look at one of the suburb counties, the exurb counties around Philadelphia, where Democrats have to run up the score. Look, Joe Biden's doing good, but again, George, it's so early. There's nothing really to pull.
Do we have anything?
Man, all that's telling me is this is not representative at all.
Just by a percentage point 40 years ago, but it was one of those swing counties that Obama won, and you can see right now, I mean, John, it's neck and neck, but 4% in.
Yeah, but
4% in.
we'll see the final numbers, but I bet you it's still going to be very non-representative when you...
You see Biden with 80, nearly 80-point lead. It's 16% of the vote in. What's really important here, though, George, is, as I understand it, almost all of the vote that has been counted are people that voted today on election day. Pennsylvania didn't start counting in those collar counties of Philadelphia. Yes, this is day of voting, so they still have to count all of the mail-in vote. They didn't start opening the envelopes until today. That's going to take a long time. It's actually going to take several days. That mail-in vote is expected to really lean heavily towards Joe Biden. So I think it's interesting. It's still a small amount, no doubt, but I think that it's interesting already in the suburbs of Philadelphia. It used to be swing areas. Now they're trending deep blue. I mean, early indication, again, 16, 17% of the expected vote in, but it's day of vote. We have some exit polls for Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, when you compare it to Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania actually in the exit polls showed Donald Trump's worst performance so far tonight when it comes to his approval rating. Let's dive in here and see what the exit poll shows. Again, these are preliminary, but the exit polls, as we mentioned earlier, do reflect both, as John Carl was mentioning, people who voted today and those who are voting early in person. As you can see, let's try to refresh that and see if the job performance comes up. 52% disapproving of Donald Trump. His performance, whether or not to contain the pandemic first or rebuild the economy, you can see overwhelmingly they say we've got to take care of this coronavirus in the U.S. And they say that Joe Biden is the best to handle that. When you look at the economy, Donald Trump and Joe Biden neck and neck in Pennsylvania. The most important issue in Pennsylvania, the economy, pandemic, they're behind. It's interesting. Let's look at independents in Pennsylvania. Joe Biden owning independents so far as the exit polls are concerned in Pennsylvania.
Chris Christie, neighboring state of yours in New Jersey, always going to be an uphill battle for the president, but essential.
Listen, vital, has to have it. And I do think, though, that the things that we're seeing still, I think this is very early, but there's underperformance in Philadelphia, even though those numbers don't indicate it. That's what I continue to hear. And so I think they're still feeling like they can turn out their day of vote in a way that's going to make it very close. No one's predicting a win there yet that I've heard, but no one's bemoaning a loss yet either.
Rahm Emanuel, the Biden campaign probably spent more time, energy, money, focus on Pennsylvania than any other state.
There's no doubt about it. And the vice president, if you remember in your town hall, when a guy stood up and was, oh, I know you, you're a sheriff. I mean, he's got to feel like a precinct captain or a county exec. They look at these numbers, and I would say there's a regional thing that's starting to happen. You look at the Ohio numbers, you look at Pennsylvania numbers, they're early, but there are trend lines where Joe Biden is outperforming in the suburbs, he's outperforming among working class, and he's also outperforming in the rural areas, even though you don't count it, just minimizing the losses is doing well. So he is doing really in those areas well. The vote total in the sense of how many people show up in the suburbs versus working industrial areas versus urban is going to be what's really interesting. Because I think the urban areas may not be performing to the kind of baseline of what people were expecting.
Yvette, are you seeing that across the country right now? The urban area is not performing as well.
That's not what we're seeing, and that's what I want to make sure I reserve comment until we see that. We're seeing a lot of it, particularly in Ohio, Hamilton County, Cuyahoga County, Franklin County, huge turnout there. I mean, we're running not just on the presidential, but down ticket. We're winning all these races down ticket as well, and so I think we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, we'll see ya after the next party.
Still in line up until about a half an hour ago in Cuyahoga County.
Tonight, wait and see. We're going to be doing that with every state.
It's exciting stuff.
I have no idea how Jorgensen's doing because nobody's reporting it. I know, but they should be reporting it.
The issue of fracking, they thought that could
Fingers
get
crossed.
away in Western Pennsylvania.
I hope she gets more votes
in
than
these final 2 weeks.
I think it probably will give him some headway. You know, whether he wins it or not, we'll see. I think Pennsylvania, to me, is the best case of the mirage, the red and blue mirage. We don't know whether these are early votes, whether these are absentee votes, whether they're day of votes yet. And so, you know, I would go back to something Nate Silver said, has been repeating over and over tonight. Wait till an entire jurisdiction is in before you get too excited.
I think we have to do that. There's no question about that. Eva Pilgrim, you spent a lot of time with suburban women in the state of Pennsylvania.
That's right, George. And specifically with moms, a lot of them telling me they usually avoid talking about politics amongst their mom groups, but this year that just wasn't possible because so many of the things that are very political right now directly impact them and their children. In their text chains, you can see what some of those things are. They're talking about masking their children. They're talking about virtual learning. Are you sending your kid back to school? Should we go on vacation this summer? Those were all the discussions that they were having. And a lot of these moms telling me that
one good thing to come out of it is the virtual learning thing.
They weren't really that plugged in. They've maybe voted in a presidential
But
election
the government will find a way to
but
make that
this year
more
they thought it was
expensive than sending your kids to an actual building.
Eva Pilgrim, thanks very much.
Leave it to the government.
Let's take one more look at your magical forecast. You can call it magical, your very scientific forecast there. What happens if Pennsylvania flips this year, what Donald Trump 4 years ago goes to Joe Biden this time around?
So again, I'm going to make things a bit more suspenseful. Give Donald Trump Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, but then if you give Biden
I can picture it.
Pennsylvania, it's going to show us the numbers going
But
down.
that's more an indictment on the parents who should have already known what was going on.
But you see, Biden's up to 91%.
Now there's no yeah about it. It's your freaking kid. That should be your number one. People, I bet you those same people know how the stock market's doing and taking care of their stocks, but they don't know what's going into their kids' head. I don't have any sympathy for parents who don't know what's going on with their kids.
We have a close election where Biden is favored. There's this kind of wide range of possible outcomes.
Heard from Republican leadership in Ohio that Trump has now pulled ahead in Ohio and that they believe Trump will win between 1.5 and 2 points.
Right now, we're seeing what we're seeing on our board right now is 64% of the expected vote in. Joe Biden just ahead by a little bit, but you're saying you're getting that from your sources right now inside Ohio. They're looking at the vote that is they're still waiting on. And
he had been wounded in Afghanistan and had lost
What
his
happened?
right arm. But the second I walked
They
in that
just
room
cut
at the
over?
hospital, I knew
That was not graceful.
I knew his family was. I knew who his parents were.
Yeah.
His grandparents.
What is this? A webcam from 2001? Here we go.
His ancestors, that my grandfather had told me that his grandparents or great-grandparents would walk into our family farm equipment business. They would pick up a pair of pliers and they would test their strength. And he would grab them, he would squeeze them, and they would snap the pin and the pliers to see whether or not they were good enough to buy. And I told this young soldier who had just lost his arm that story. And in this letter, with that pair of pliers, he wrote to me that I had come to visit him, that his ancestors were apparently wouldn't buy a pair of pliers unless they stood up to their strength. But he kept that story with him. For the last 5 years, he trained with that pair of pliers that he took with him to remind him of what it took to regain his strength, to train his non-dominant arm to be his new dominant arm. And he's now the only amputee to teach special forces in this country. And he finished this letter with this: sometimes our tools break, sometimes it's our fault. Sometimes they're not flat sturdy to begin with. Sometimes these tools have just been used to the point of failure. Every time, though, what really matters is what we do once that tool is broken. We fix it. We get a new one.
Back down.
Or we improvise something better. Either way, we figure out how to finish the job because people are depending on us to get it.
Oh, I didn't see that.
No matter what the outcome of any election
We gotta
is,
move. New way. Look it up.
Yo, I got it.
All right, looks like we've lost the signal. That was, of course, Senator Cory Gardner seceding tonight, losing to John Hickenlooper, so giving Colorado 2 Democratic senators. Also, big picture.
Stranger danger.
That was one of the races everybody was watching nationally to as the Democrats try to regain the majority of the Senate.
And I think we do have the video or the feedback, so let's continue listening into Cory Gardner.
but the company was always the best.
Cookies
To the
here.
people of Colorado, thank you for this great honor to serve you. This nation's better days are ahead of us. And
Did
let
you
none
lose
of
or
us
win?
forget that.
Nice.
The great state of Colorado
Did I say
and
that out
these
loud?
great United States of America.
Again, Senator Cory Gardner with a concession speech tonight. John Hickenlooper, the winner, declared the winner by ABC News this evening. 54% to 43% of the latest numbers that we have from the Secretary of State's office. And Cory Gardner giving a very gracious concession speech, saying that he will be there to support Governor Hickenlooper, and now Senator-elect Hickenlooper, and saying that the country needs to work together moving forward.
And let's recall, prior to this ad campaign, this ad blitz between the two, they were pretty friendly, it seemed. So maybe we can go back to that as the results right now. This race has been called. We do expect to hear from Senator-elect Hickenlooper in the next 10 minutes or so. Even when we're not on Denver 7 on the air, we are streaming on the Denver 7 app for Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV if you want to watch that. That's more local or state and local focused. All right, so we're going to leave you now, get back to ABC News, but hey, the fun's going on here and on our streaming devices.
We'll be right here late all night, so stay with us.
Where he needs to win. He's building off Hillary Clinton's lead that she had here.
I'm
He's
Nikki.
expanding the map even
Karen
more.
Ann. Nice to meet
The
you.
problem for Joe Biden is that the red counties, President Trump's base, and this is something we're seeing throughout the country, at least in some of the big battleground states. President Trump's base
Did you
is
get
showing up
food?
and they're voting. And a lot of this,
There's some fantastic bread pudding.
Oh, wonderful.
counties are the
I
same.
brought cookies.
What we have to find out, we have to figure out is what the counties at the end of the night in the Atlantic counties. If Joe Biden can run up the score there, he can tighten this up. But President Trump has got to be happy with this number at this hour right now, but to get a lot of the vote out in Atlanta.
Lindsay Davis, what do you see in Georgia?
You know, Georgia is 6 overall when it comes to the total number of coronavirus cases in our country. I think that one good image is that Governor Kemp today dropped off his ballot.
Yes, I'm always cold, no matter how hot it is.
Because he came into contact with somebody who tested positive.
Oh, we have a million extra blankets lying around.
Yes, take a rapid test and is subsequently tested negative. But look, we're seeing the same thing that we saw in North Carolina, where the 3 counties that are hardest hit by coronavirus, all are counties that voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. We'll remember that Governor Kemp was criticized for trying to open up Georgia early, and he then had that lawsuit against Keisha Bottoms, the mayor of Atlanta, when she implemented that mask mandate, which he later dropped. But what's interesting is black voters make up 32% of the eligible voting population in Georgia. And a lot has been said tonight about the black voters not turning out. And I do think that it's relevant to talk about the disproportionate effect on black and brown communities.
Man,
of course,
North Carolina's
make up
close.
13% of the population, but 20% of the COVID deaths, 1 out of 900
Ohio is
people
narrowing.
have died as a result of coronavirus.
Okay, Lindsay Davis, thanks very much. Let's take another look at the state of Texas right now.
Yeah, he
Not
was
expected to be
expecting
a
just.
battleground this year, but it is close right now with about 76% of the expected vote in. Donald Trump has about a 2-point lead over Joe Biden right now. Tom, what stands out?
George, as I put Texas here in the middle of
I remember the last time it was kind of like that.
basically neck and neck, George. Look at that right
Doesn't
there.
really mean anything
Democrats
most
have
of the time.
the early vote, especially in a state like Texas. Republicans showed up early as well. And it's not there in Texas. A lot of red counties. Texas has been Republican for a very long time. Jimmy Carter was the last Democrat to win this state. So
Jimmy Carter won Texas.
The last time
County
anybody won
suburb
Texas,
areas.
that was
We'll show you
Democrat.
why. So Fort Worth, which is usually a
He
Republican
really left a bad taste in their mouth, didn't he?
Terry County, 49%. It's neck and neck. President Trump won this by
Although he's been very effective as a
years ago.
negotiator.
We go a little bit higher here to
Hostages and
Denton
things like
County.
that, so we'll
It's
give
the
him
same
some
story. President Trump
Not during his.
Not during his reign.
Because I remember that I ran hostage.
No. But that's why. I think that's why.
You learned.
Yeah, I do.
as it was 4 years ago. Harris County, Houston is
And
an
now
area
you gotta
where
give him props
Democrats
for that.
have to run up the score even more if they had any chance of
Well,
winning
he was
Texas.
never meant to be
Because
like
you
a
go to
leader
one
of a
these red
country. He's
counties,
like a
George, look at that.
humanitarian.
East Texas, it's
Yeah.
3-1, and it's like that.
I don't agree with him on a lot of things.
No, I don't either, but I think he's a little too soft-spoken.
Yeah, he's too soft for the. I mean, he's meant to be working
days of
with
his
charity.
campaign, he started to break a little bit, uncharacteristically, from President Trump.
Well, I think he saw the numbers in Texas and the changing nature. He's catching up to the changing nature of the state of Texas, which, as we've talked about earlier, has gone from a solid red state to now, I think, a slightly red state. I think in the end, Biden's going to get really close in this state as I look at the numbers. Very close, closer than any presidential candidate in 40 some odd years. But I don't think he's going to have enough. It's those last 2 or 3 points that are really hard, but he'll get really close. The other thing
How
I
about
want to
that
say
game
is
last
what's
night?
played out
Woo!
in Florida
Or
is
night
not
before
playing out
Sunday?
in Texas. So
Oh my
I think
gosh.
I counsel everybody to not interpret
Everybody started
one
coming
place
into the clinic,
as meaning it's
and so I
going to
knew
affect
we
another
weren't
place.
doing well.
The Hispanic
Then everybody just like left. It was like, what happened? Oh,
really
kind of pulled it out.
for Joe Biden much better than Donald Trump did here last time among the Hispanic votes. So I just counsel everybody that one state, Florida, may be about Florida, but it may not
Someone
necessarily
said
be about
Fox 31 was reporting more
Similar to
Oh,
what
I'm not
Matt
surprised.
said,
local stuff.
some pretty decent.
Well, I mean, this is look, but I was asking why they weren't reporting on. They're ignoring every other party but Republican and Democrat. So somebody on Facebook said Fox 31 is showing all of the results.
4 years ago, so Joe Biden.
I know it's gonna sound terrible, but I don't know how to work the TV, so I can't change the channel. No, I don't know what it would be on there. I don't watch TV.
We don't pay for the extra regular TV and cable. We just get Apple.
I just watch YouTube all
Our
day.
bill's about $50 rather than $200 and something.
I watch YouTube. I get everything I need on YouTube or YouTube.
Victorian architecture really paid off this time.
Really don't have an interest in watching
So I'm looking at the local, on the Twitter stream, there's a Colorado local updates, and I don't see anything on there either about any other races.
What do you say? One more game of backgammon?
On your life.
I'm gonna go to Fox 31 homepage.
Delicious. I need this recipe. Everyone thinks I made them, but it's actually decon. What was that? Judy?
Decon. Mice love it. To death.
It's funny because my sister was all in.
Colgate Optic White Renewal removes 10 years of yellow stains. That's like all the way back to 2010.
What's that? Is it shake weight? It's a weight shake.
Remove 10 years of yellow stains with Colgate Optic White Renewal. Black markets are all around us. It's military grade. I'm a journalist on a mission to find my way inside.
I was gonna fire like
Good morning, America. Tomorrow morning, wake up to real-time answers, real-time results. The morning after this
Yeah, on their website, they're showing all the results for the local races.
Good Morning America.
So far, the highest Libertarian is James Gilman, 4.1%.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is your Denver 7 election
No,
update.
Mike
I'm
McRedmond,
Shannon.
4.3%.
A lot has happened since the polls closed here in Colorado just about an hour ago.
That's right.
Susan Kulish, I don't know who that is, 4.5.
About 20 minutes ago, in fact, the governor has already conceded. We just carried his speech, and we're waiting Hickenlooper's speech.
Yeah, they're all three-way races.
ABC News called Colorado's 9 electoral votes for Joe Biden shortly after 7 p.m. This was a quick call here.
And we are beating the spread on a lot of these races, which is good.
I just thought it would be lovely if just Colorado voted for somebody besides the two main candidates for president, just to show people in the middle class that they have a voice.
57% yes.
Jason Chapman, 5.6.
And to Prop 116, which would reduce the state's flat income tax rate.
We weren't in any two-way races, so they're all going to be around 5-6.
58% to 42%.
Prop 118 that would ensure at least 12 weeks of medical leave paid for families by employers and employees right now. So paid family leave, 56% yes.
Oh no, here we are in a two-way. I didn't know that. State House 50, 39.7%.
This is the tape
against the Democrat.
Tobacco and vaping, trying to put those words together. Yes is at 68% to 32% in this case.
All right, Denver 7 political.
Only 23%.
We see tonight with analysis of these early returns.
Yeah, I'm keeping a close eye on some of those closer races, guys. One of the ones that's surprisingly close is
Yeah. So far, the only other third-party candidate, I mean, I've seen is one race so far that has a Green Party person.
Yes, 50% no, 10,000 vote difference. I'm also keeping an eye on Proposition 113. That is
there was a lot of races without a Libertarian.
52% yes right now, 47% no. Surprisingly, Amendment C, which is a bingo amendment, is also close, guys.
For live election night coverage, please join us on our Denver 7 News for your Roku, Android, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.
We've got an L that's getting 39.7% in a two-way race.
360 reporting.
State House 50.
With political experts and
Yep.
as they come in. Denver 7 is live right now. Amazon Fire or other streaming device.
Yeah.
Chapter. Maintaining a safe distance. Chapter. Get alerted if you're exposed to COVID-19 with long exposure notifications. It's free, easy, and completely private. Visit adyourphone.com to learn more.
Hi, I'm Susie Warden, and I'm here with Dave Thomas. Dave, how does Lifetime help homeowners transform their homes?
Homeowners want choices in beautiful products that last Lifetime offers a wide selection of window and siding products with a huge variety of color and design options. All of our products are custom made to order.
The last time CBET got pretty high in its two-way.
Approach to making sure that homeowners get the products they need.
Call Lifetime Windows and Siding now and get 20% off window siding and installation.
Get Denver 7 weather on your favorite streaming device and start watching now.
I think there are some personality differences because
This is an ABC News special. America is voting in record numbers. So who will be voting?
Yeah, that I want to know that. I haven't looked that up yet. Oh, Michelle Pogue was in a two-way race, and she's at 30.4%.
Chief Anchor George Stephanopoulos.
Coming up on 10 p.m. in the East, and we have a long way
State
to go.
Senate.
It's election night 2020. That's where things stand right
I
now.
didn't realize we had so many that we didn't fill.
Trump has won 10 states, 72 electoral votes.
But there's more unfilled than filled. I didn't know we were.
4 additional states. Let's take a look at that right now. State of key state in the middle of the country, 6 electoral votes. Key Senate race there as well. We cannot project a winner right there. But Canada Whitmore.
That just kills me, though. There's some states who'd be like, "You guys are so lucky that you have good ballot access and then you don't run a candidate."
35% of voters cast their
ballot for Donald Trump in 2016. It was certainly the case here in Iowa. And this is a place where they are focused on the economy and job security. And one in 5 of those jobs is in agriculture. And some of those people are really hurting right now, particularly the farmers. Their crops were decimated by weather. First they saw the drought and then the windstorm. They're battling COVID-19 and, of course, Trump's trade wars with China. Now, the federal government dumped $37 billion into aid to American farmers, but some that I spoke with here in Iowa simply said, that's not enough. It doesn't make them whole, and their vote cannot be bought. One farmer in particular said he simply cannot overlook the lack of civility and
They don't have the county commissioner races
for Joe Biden. Now, it's important to note here that, of course, Donald Trump has a lot of support. He was made an honorary member of the Iowa Corn Growers Association. It's a big deal here. I also spoke with one farmer who said, finally, someone is standing up to China. He said,
I found it.
Frankly, that is something
They listed at the end here, 3.4 so far.
Didn't do, and so he was happy to cast his vote, of course, for Donald Trump. And George, as you mentioned, we have a really tight Senate race here. It is neck and neck.
But she ran a really good campaign, but it's tough.
Pulling ahead in recent polls, she's trying to fend off her Democratic challenger, Teresa Greenfield. Now, some surprised that it's such a battle here for Joe. She's a rising star in the Republican Party, and Teresa Greenfield, relatively unknown. She describes herself as a businesswoman and a scrappy farm girl. But the Democrats, George, dumped $94 million in her campaign to try to flip that seat.
Hickenlooper, thanks very much. The polls have also closed in 3 more states. Polls have closed in the state of Nevada. 6 electoral votes in play. Early voting in that state, we cannot project a winner yet. Polls have also closed in the state of Utah again.
Okay. Wyoming's not reporting yet, because I found where it would list Bethany Valdez, but it's not reporting.
As well, but not enough vote in to make a projection yet. So we want to take another look now at one of the key states in that so-called blue wall for the Democrats.
Keep that page up so I can refresh it.
23% of the expected vote is in, and Donald Trump, it appears, Tom Yamas has a huge lead right now.
Yeah, okay, so spoiler alert, it's a little funky right now in Michigan, okay? Let me show you why. The big reason, George, is because we don't have the early vote yet, okay? We don't have the early vote in yet, so we can't sort of work that into our numbers so far. But here's one reason why these numbers at this point don't make sense. Wayne County, you have Donald Trump on top, but there's only 3% of the vote in. Macomb County, which is one of those really key counties that President Trump won 4 years ago, the home of the Reagan Democrats, he's way up, but he's way up from where he was 4 years ago. So again, there's not enough vote in. We're going to be looking at places like Grand Rapids. This is Kent County, where President Trump won 4 years ago. But again, these are all areas that 2 years later, Gretchen Whitmer came in that blue wave, and she was able to turn those counties back to blue.
John Carl, this, of course, we saw all the polls leading up to the election day in Michigan. Joe Biden's leading consistently by anywhere from 5 to 10 points in that state. This could be one of those red bars.
Yeah, it's either the polling was way off, the pollster should be fired, or we're seeing a bit of a red mirage here. Remember, in the state of Michigan, there's a lot of mail-in voting, and the state, in most of the state, they don't even open the ballots until today. In some jurisdictions, they started opening them yesterday. It takes time. It takes a long time. They have warned us that the vote in Michigan is likely to take well beyond tonight. So I would expect as that mail-in vote is counting, that's Democratic vote, that margin, that those numbers change pretty dramatically.
Let's take a look at the state of Michigan and Wisconsin as well right now. Let's pull that up. 30% of the expected vote in. A little bit closer there, Tom. More of the vote has been counted, but Donald Trump is slightly ahead.
Yeah, slightly ahead. This is one of the states he won. You know, it was very close here, 23,000 votes. We're going to be talking about Milwaukee. This is so important. 15% of the total vote. Joe Biden is where he needs to be, but he's got to bring that number up a little bit. We only have about 30% of the vote in, so he can catch up there. We're also going to be talking about the WOW counties. This is
so far, Joe has 1.1%.
Washington as well. In Waukesha, President Trump won 4 years ago. This is actually a pretty good lead for him at 60% in. He's holding what he had 4 years ago. That's exactly what he has to do. Still not enough vote in up there. Like some of these swing counties I can take a look at here. Price, a tiny county, Donald Trump on top, building on his lead there, but only 12%. So it's a little hard to sort of pull data out of here. In Green Bay, Brown County, you know, Donald Trump sort of performing where he needs to be, but again, it's so little here. Kenosha, of course, we want to talk about as well because it had such a big role. We're talking about the social justice that swept across the country with the Jacob Blake shooting there. Donald Trump on top. He won this just barely 4 years ago. He has a big lead right now, but again, I just think that there still needs a lot of vote to come in.
Well, we're looking at the blue wall. Let's pick up Pennsylvania again. Let's take a check back in and see where Pennsylvania is. At this point, 23% of the expected vote in.
We got a lot more vote in here, George. So let's take a look. We'll start with Scranton, Joe Biden's hometown, Lackawanna County. President Trump on top right there. He's going to like those numbers. Joe Biden is not. Just south of that, Lucerne. This is Wilkes-Barre, PA. Joe Biden behind again there. You know, he's doing better than Hillary Clinton. That's some good news. But President Trump's still on top. And we got to talk about Philadelphia again. We're still waiting for
He's doing better than Hillary Clinton. What is that? Done and over, and
They've been doing a lot of that comparison. Ooh, it's me all tangled up in my blanket.
Yeah, Chester. Oh, we don't have Bucks yet. Chester's another big suburb in the Philadelphia area. Joe Biden doing well there. So I mean, look.
As you watch our coverage here on Denver 7, we are awaiting John Hickenlooper's speech, the former governor, now the senator-elect from the great state of Colorado.
And we did hear a concession speech from Cory Gardner just a few minutes ago, and he was very gracious in saying that Colorado needs to be united together, and saying that he would do his part to help Senator-elect Hickenlooper succeed in his new role here in Colorado. We also got a statement from the GOP tonight. The GOP
that makes him gracious.
Republicans, and we thank Senator for his decades of service to our state. That Cory has consistently fought for opportunities to make life better for Coloradans. That from Party Chair Ken Buck tonight.
Your national implications, Senate before, or as it sits right now, before the new people take their seats, 53 to 47, a split with two independents, with the Republicans in the majority. And of course, there's been such tremendous focus and effort to try to flip the Senate. And this was one of the races that they poured so much time and money. And if you watch in television at all, that is not a shock to you how many ads you've seen both for and against Hickenlooper and Gardner. But the Gardner pulls this out, giving Colorado now also two Democrats in the United States Senate.
And to your point, it was just everyone around the country was watching this race. So not a real shocker, I think, because people fully expected that Senator-elect Hickenlooper would take over this role.
Our Attorney General in the great state of Colorado, Phil Weiser, is in. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Great to be with you guys.
After waiting for now Senator Hickenlooper, your thoughts on that race?
It was a hard-fought race. Part of what obviously was at stake is the balance of the U.S. Senate. John Hickenlooper came to this with a history of bringing people together. As mayor and as governor, he worked across divides. Front Range, Western Slope, city, and the suburbs. And he was able to pull off this victory. We now call it, like I said, of two Democratic senators. This is significant because if we win tonight, we may have no statewide elected officials who are Republicans for the first time in a very long time.
And what does it say about Colorado and how it has changed over the years?
Well, one of the things that's really clear is the unaffiliated voters are in the driver's seat. And tonight they're going
I don't
the
understand why
Democratic
they don't
Party,
make them
John
walk the
Hickenlooper,
street
Joe Biden.
anymore.
We're going to learn a lot
I think
more
that's
2
where
years from now
part of it broke
when
down.
we see if they
Used to
stick
have
with
to
the
walk
Democratic Party. I
we
believe
had a
we can't
community
be
area.
or
You actually were on foot.
and
You got to know the community, and they got to know you, and build some trust there. And I don't know why exactly when it switched, where they just kind of shoved them in a car. It's like, wait a minute, you know?
Make a case to the independent voters to win in 2 years from now.
So let's talk about that. I love talking about the road not taken.
Probably be dangerous to do it now.
Trump's not in the White House.
Kind of too late, you know what I mean?
What happens in this race if with Hickenlooper and Gardner all being equal?
We'll never know this. When Cory Gardner ran to be
Just get
senator,
back
he
to
said,
basics.
I'll
I
be a
don't know why
different
we
type of
always
Republican.
switch to
I'll stand up
things
to
when
my
they're not really
party.
broken.
What didn't happen
understand
in
it.
the last 4 years was that standing up to the party. We saw the president say, I'm going
That's
to
because
divert
they want
money,
to cut more.
violate the separation of powers, and build the wall.
Probably tied to money and cuts and stuff like that.
Senator Gardner was cycling and refused to actually join with other Republican senators to call this unconstitutional. The Affordable Care Act and lawsuits to undermine it are all happening, and Senator Gardner's been
We looked
silent.
up
So he didn't
all the
stand up to
judges.
President
We
Trump.
didn't just read the pamphlet. We like looked up there.
Hard to say,
What
but he
people
had
had to
a
say about
moment to show whether he was willing to stand up to his party.
I think there were two that weren't really
He
doing so hot.
didn't. Now he's not doing it.
Again, we're waiting for
Oh, now
Attorney General. Let's say President Trump is reelected. Colorado has 2 U.S. senators who are Democrats. What is our national profile then as a blue state?
Part of what makes Colorado special is that we cover it all. We've got a strong agricultural economy. We've got rural areas. We've got urban areas. We've got suburban areas. Part of what we can do here in Colorado is show that we can work together.
Mr. Weiss, let's cut you off right there. I want to get to the speech with Hickenlooper. No balloons and party. Very quiet. Virtual speech.
More Coloradans have voted in this election than in any election in our state's history. As it looks now, Colorado is going to have the highest voter turnout of any state in any election in our nation's history. Clearly, people are saying it's time to turn the page. It's time for a different approach. It's time to start solving problems and helping people. And that's exactly what I intend to do. I want you to know that I am honored by the trust you have placed in me. I'm deeply committed to the job ahead. We've got to get Washington for everyone. Regardless of which party ends up controlling the Senate, I want you to know that I will work with anyone and everyone to help Coloradans.
I just can't believe there
We've
are
had
homeless
enough
people
leaders
that
in
want to
Washington
live in
thinking
Colorado.
it's their
It's
job
cold.
to only
Why
represent
would you want to live
Blue
here?
America or Red
California, I
America or Red
get.
Colorado.
You know, you can hang out at the beach, you know.
I've always believed it's my job to represent all Colorado. That's what it's going to take to beat this pandemic, to make sure people
I
have
don't know
decent
why
jobs
they, like I said,
and
why
Main
would you
Street
pick it
businesses
here?
can
Like,
grow again,
honestly,
to get
hop a train,
quality,
you know.
affordable
Get out
health
of
care for
Dodge.
everyone, to work toward racial and social justice and address the pervasive inequities that our nation has tolerated for too long, and to protect our planet and address the nightmare of these endless wildfires by tackling climate change. There's a lot to do, and Lord knows the system in Washington
You didn't just
is
say
a mess. But I'm an optimist.
Wow.
I know this country is ready to begin a new chapter. So tonight, I pledge to you I will work my heart out for this state that I love. And I will do everything I can to bring common sense and decency to our work. I want to thank Senator Gardner for his service.
Did you say to our
I
world?
wish him
Yeah.
and his family
That's a really tall
the very
order.
best.
Well, you know,
I want to say
you don't want all the
everyone that
forests to
voted
catch
for
on
me,
fire because of climate
I'll be
change.
your senator as well. Thank you to my wife
We need to
Robin,
plant the right
son Teddy,
trees.
for
We're stuck
standing
here.
with me and being an essential part of
Pick one?
everything I am,
Yeah,
everything
and
I
he's
do.
full of shit.
Can't
Oh
thank
my
you.
God.
Thank you to my amazing
How did
staff.
Ramon do?
Choice
Had
either.
to
Oh,
adapt
nobody's
to this
reporting
crisis
that.
Well, of
and
course not.
campaign in a way
Duopoly
that
doesn't
none
even
of
want
us
us to know that there's
possibly
something
could
on.
imagine. I'm grateful for your time, your resilience, and your talent.
Yeah. They
Thank
were.
you to everyone who
Did I go
volunteered,
there already?
endorsed
Like
this
your shirt, by the way.
campaign, put up a sign, talked
We'll
to
be
a
right
friend,
back, you guys.
chipped in a few bucks, made phone calls, sent texts, or cast a vote. And thank you to the people of Colorado for your confidence and trust. I can't wait to be your senator. Together, I know we can change Washington. Thank you so much.
I can't wait for you not to be anymore. You haven't
All
even
right, that is
started.
John Hickenlooper giving his victory address virtually, no balloon drop or open bar or crazy hats. Just a strange night. But that campaign, that very expensive campaign, has come
Guys,
to
keep
an end.
feeding.
Colorado,
You keep feeding the
where
machine.
you have
You
two
keep feeding the machine.
Democrats in the United States Senate.
Oh, this is
We are
awesome.
going
I
to
can't
now
find it on the
move
site.
back to programming, and we
I'm
will
on the
continue
secretary's
our
site.
coverage of the local races right
Oh, I
here on
see
Denver
there was
7 on
this
all
ugly
history
site.
You tanked the whole world
An
economy
improved
with this
lung function
COVID-19
helps
baloney.
prevent
I'm
future
a nurse. They test
flares.
people every
Trilogy
day, and
won't
most
replace
of
a
them are
rescue
negative.
inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Tell your doctor if you have a heart condition or high blood pressure before taking it. Do not take Trilogy more than
65% of the people that
Trilogy
go
may
on a
increase your risk
ventilator
of thrush,
come off of
pneumonia,
it too.
and
They don't tell them
osteoporosis.
that.
Call your doctor if worsening breathing,
1.48.
chest pain, mouth or tongue swelling, problems urinating, vision changes, or eye pain occur. Take a stand and start a new day with Trilogy. Ask your doctor about
So is it heading in one direction or the other?
Trilogy.com.
Which one?
Stronger bite?
Oh,
Was that your great
they don't know.
grandmother?
They don't know yet.
I have no. I don't even have a guess myself, so.
Yeah, no, they don't know yet.
Numbers right there, but
Yeah.
where
To
are
be
you?
counted. Learning about her courage and grit can inspire you to pass it on to connection to this moment in history and ancestry.
Friday
Be
night.
careful what you wish for on Ancestry. I did that. I did Ancestry and I did 23andMe. I found out my father was born in Jordan. I have 4 siblings. I have a brother named Osama. Can't make this stuff up. They call me for advice because I'm the oldest. For my adopted family, I'm the youngest, so it's been crazy.
We have the occasional young female vanish around here.
Yeah, no results in for Bethany's yet.
Brace for impact.
Back here at ABC News Election Headquarters in New York around 10:18 Eastern Time. And we want to take another look at the state of Ohio right now. 72% of the vote is in right now. And Tom Yamas, Donald Trump has pulled ahead now of Joe Biden in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, George, we're going to need a neck brace for Ohio. I told you earlier in the night it was looking like 2012, the map. Now it's looking like back to 2016.
Wow.
Donald Trump has gained control of Ohio. He's swung back a lot of those counties that were looking blue. Places like Wood, Ohio, this county just south of Toledo there. You can see Donald Trump on top. He's actually doing a little bit better. But the big question is the 3 C's, Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland. This is where Democrats are going to have to run up the vote.
It seems like it,
It's not
doesn't
in
it?
Cuyahoga County yet. And
Yeah,
Joe
an awful
Biden is
lot of
doing
effort
really
into
well
it.
there. He's overperforming. It's a similar story in Columbus. 66% of the vote is in.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
up 10 points from where Hillary Clinton
Who's
was.
the third person,
Cincinnati,
even though they're
Hamilton
clearly not
County.
going to
It
get?
used
Like,
to be
it'd be just
Republican
nice to
stomping
know.
grounds. It switched over with Obama. And tonight, Joe Biden has a very
we paid
significant lead
the
there.
bribery for
George,
ballot
what is
access,
this?
so
He's
we
going to have to run
said
the
what
vote
we
in the big
got.
cities.
Yeah.
The rural
Paid the
counties are sticking
extortion.
with Donald Trump tonight.
Well, that seems to be the question of the margins are good in the cities for Joe Biden, but are no voters coming out for him?
We've seen significant turnout in the 3 C's. I mean, not just early vote, but on election day. I mean, they were predicting at about 2 o'clock in Hamilton County, we were at 60% of our total registration number, which is a really, really, really big deal. And they were projecting to beat 70% of our total registration number, which doesn't happen all the time. I think the big thing is these urban centers, they're counted slower. That's where most of the votes are, and they'll come in later. And I think they will make the difference, particularly because he's overperforming Hillary Clinton by so much.
Who cares about Hillary?
I don't understand why they keep bringing it up.
The other big question, Matt Dowd, might be
He's a
are
terrible
Donald
candidate
Trump's
and a
voters
terrible
coming out
choice
in
and
recognition as
Terrible
well?
human being.
Right?
I think that's clear. I think
I mean,
it's
just the whole Benghazi
it's
thing
even
is
if you
enough
look
to
at the
just make
total
me.
numbers that we think are going to be cast, it's definitely true. It was true in Florida. It looks like Donald Trump is going to get more votes in Florida this year,
The whole,
not only
we're
percentage-wise,
so
but more
poor.
total
I
votes
was like,
by
what?
far, by hundreds of thousands
She
than he
said
did last
that?
time.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's absolutely clear. I disagree
They
on
had to
part
sell
of this.
one
It's
of their
not
vacation
as if
homes.
the African
Tickled
American
me.
vote's not
Just one of
turning
them.
out and there's a problem. They're turning out. But the counter to that is Donald Trump's supporters are turning out even in greater numbers than they did in 2016.
Okay, let's take a look at John Carl.
You just have to say, look at those
She's so
rallies.
spectacular.
Man.
Too. Why didn't she go out on some kind of a
17 rallies over the
money
past few days. She
recuperation?
did something like
You know, give
27
speeches for
over the
money.
past
Like, she
week.
didn't do that. Nobody wanted to hear her.
They always, the Republicans talked about their turnout operation.
She
They
would have been
talked
on
about
that
how they had invested in it
financial bandwagon.
for the past 3.5+ years. So, I mean, clearly.
Well, neither is Joe Biden.
No.
What office is running?
Well, yeah, he clearly has some form of dementia going on, which is very concerning to me. Because that means Kamala Harris would take it.
Why people are putting up with that? It's
And
a
he also has a temper, which is really
He
bad.
does have a bad temper.
But he also stutters. Those 3 things together as a nurse tells me he has dementia. Those are the things that go hand in hand.
Yeah,
People get
sudden-
angry and
yeah,
frustrated.
the temper flare up.
Yes.
If you look at it on top here between Trump
And it's understandable.
Well, yeah, I mean, God bless, but no, we're not going to vote in somebody that's.
It's abuse of the elderly. I've been saying that all along.
There's
You don't
about 250,000
put somebody
votes that
who
Hillary Clinton got
obviously
4 years ago.
Can't handle it, right?
2% of the vote in, but Hillary Clinton ran up the score there too with 150,000 plus. So
Weekend
there's
at
a lot of
Bernie's,
vote
man.
out in
That's
the
what I
Atlanta
said.
metro area that could help Joe Biden. The story for Donald Trump, counties that he swung, counties like this, tiny little counties like this.
I
back
don't
over
see
here.
anything.
The Senate
Yeah,
projection
I don't
right
watch
now
her
is in the
get
state of Alabama. Tommy Tuberville is going to be the next senator from the state of Alabama, Republican. Former Auburn football coach defeated Senator Doug Jones, Democrat, who was seeking his first full term. Of course, he won a special election in 2017.
Oh, wow.
John
so bad.
The president had a lot of personal interest in this race.
Left the seat to become Donald Trump's attorney general and to become Donald
I
Trump's
did
deputy
see one
attorney general. And when Sessions tried to get his seat back, the president
cartoon on
endorsed
Facebook
Tommy Tuberville
where someone in a Biden costume was
to get
trick-or-treating.
Sessions to lose.
And the
Not a
homeowner
surprise
was
that Doug
like,
Jones
"You're
is
not
losing
Joe
here.
Biden,"
This
and
was
pulls the
really
mask off and it's Kamala Harris.
Oh, God. Democrat representing Alabama.
So Mary Bruce, one pickup for the
I was so
Democrats, one
angry
pickup for the
watching her
Republicans. We're back to where we
little
started.
debate.
I
She was so embarrassing for women. Like, I just thought, you know what, this is not what's representing.
And
Have some respect.
And
Wait
the
your
initial,
turn.
and the initial run, she accused Joe Biden of all kinds of stuff.
Now they're buddies.
Yeah, it's like you were either lying then or you have no integrity now. There's no other choice here. And then when asked about it, well, you know, that's just campaigning. Oh, so you were lying then? Got it.
I mean,
embrace the power of and.
And she refused to answer anything. Like, I was like, oh, circular logic. We're just going around that answer.
If you're at home thinking about your financial plan, so are we. Prudential helps 1 in 7 Americans with their financial needs. That's over 25 million people. With over 90 years of investment experience, our thousands of financial professionals can help with secure video chat and on the phone. We make it easy for you with online tools, e-signatures,
Our
and no
people-
medical exam life insurance.
They don't
Brain
understand.
dead.
They don't understand how it works. They really don't.
Or talk to an
But I
advisor.
blame the educational system there. I was worked as a substitute teacher, and it is just, it's all about jumping through hoops to get numbers, to get money. It has nothing to do with actually educating the kids, or getting through a text, or picking a good text, or
Is why we no longer have
What
to
is that?
worry too much toilet paper
Yeah.
will back up our system.
you know, they tell everybody about the Salem witch trials, and they never seem to get all the way through. They never get up to Reagan or past. Like, it's just.
I will laugh my ass off. Okay, if that passes, even though, you know, it doesn't go into effect until whatever, but Trump wins the popular vote. I'll be like, ah!
Yeah.
You guys might want to rethink that vote, huh?
It doesn't change anything.
No, it doesn't, but
it goes your way some years and it doesn't go your way other years. It's pretty equal that way. There's a reason why we have it. Like, it's just, you know. John worked for Bush Sr. at the polls, and I worked for his son at the polls. And we sat there with these books. And people just came up and said, this is my address. They didn't have to show us an ID. They didn't have to prove anything. And there was a guy that was working it. He kept getting up and using the payphone. And then this like group of people would come in. It was so corrupt. Even back then, it was like, you know.
Nonetheless, Biden wins Colorado.
I think you should show an ID. I don't think that's a problem.
And the Senate race
Who are you?
also went Democrat tonight, as you can see. John Hickenlooper, former Denver, former governor, with a resounding win over Cory Gardner, 55% to 43%. Another race that was called early on.
Denver 7's Jacqueline Allen joins us in the studio tonight. Jacqueline, you spent the night in constant communication with both campaigns.
I have, and you know, there may not have been any balloons or cheering crowds, but believe me, this is one victory that's being heard all over.
So concerned about this.
They're very, very concerned.
No open bar. That's what the one said. I was like, wow.
Two hymns in the state, meaning everyone is watching Colorado, and in his typical optimistic style, Hickenlooper says he's ready to change Washington.
Well, let's
There's a lot
just
to do.
start
And
with
Lord knows the system in Washington is a
your
big
state.
mess.
I mean,
But I'm an optimist. I know this country is ready to begin a new chapter. So tonight, I pledge to you I will work my heart out for this state that I love. And I will do everything I can to bring common sense and decency to our world.
Senator Cory Gardner striking a conciliatory, very gracious tone with his family by his side tonight. He called Senator-elect John Hickenlooper to congratulate him on his victory tonight, letting him know he'll support him and make this transition as smooth as possible.
Please understand.
National popular vote is winning.
Supported our efforts tonight.
Are you serious?
That his
I wish I
success
wasn't
in Colorado
serious.
and our nation and our state need to succeed. We need to be united.
together.
We should have built that damn wall. I'm telling you, keep Californians out.
A wall around
Make them pay
California.
for it.
Just to clarify, this is roast mugwort, not marijuana.
I wouldn't care.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're all
I was just like,
libertarians.
I'm just gonna walk into Boulder, so they're gonna be
I
like,
wouldn't care. One way or another.
This is the house where nobody really
if you
cares.
do want some marijuana, what?
We got a whole booster full of it.
Let's quickly run through some of the other elections from tonight.
Not an actual
Here in Colorado, ABC News is
I
calling
love your
District,
earrings, by the
House
way.
District
Thank
1
you.
Very
incumbent
Egyptian.
Diana DeGette over Shane Bowen.
Yeah, and not a lot of mystery in these races here. District 2, which covers Boulder, officially goes to Democrat Joe Neguse, who will hold his second route as the winner of that district.
All right, on to Congressional District 7. It has been called for incumbent Congressman Ed Perlmutter. I'll get another couple years in the U.S. House.
And the 6th Congressional District, again held by Jason Crow, and he retains his seat, declared the winner with 58% to Steve House's 39%. And then District 4, the 4th Congressional District, has been called for Ken Buck, again declared the winner. He will hold his seat 60% to Ike McCorkle's 37%.
All right, now, the one you've been waiting for, District 2. Close right now between Lauren
I'm interested about
and
this.
the Democrat Diane Mitz-Bush. Right now, actually, Boebert has increased her lead by just a little bit, and District 5, Doug Lamborn.
Yeah, there's no way Mitch Bush is winning.
Continuing coverage right here on Denver 7.
I hope not.
Me neither.
Bangin'. This is what I call an hanging burger. The chilies with the onions and the queso. Well, queso knows where it's supposed to be, where it belongs. Queso burger.
It's gross, just put cheese on it.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Our sales team takes a consultative approach
And ketchup.
to helping our customers find products they'll love. We assign a project manager to each job.
Yeah, that's
This
left and
ensures
fly.
that the homeowner is
Yeah.
totally
Because that other thing's
satisfied.
gonna cost
We
more
have
money.
craftsmen who install windows and siding.
Oh my God.
And we offer an unlimited lifetime warranty.
EE is
Call now to schedule a free in-home consultation. Mask? Check. Maintaining a safe distance? Check. Phone? Get alerted if you are exposed to COVID-19. With
I
Colorado
finally
exposure
found a way to turn that
notification.
stupid thing off.
It's free, easy, and completely
You want to be
private.
alerted?
Visit
It's like you're gonna alert me every day. I'm a nurse. I shove things up everybody's nose every day to test.
A lot of people have read Moby Dick, but have they ever read Moby Dick
I wish I could express the amount of anger that was
and I'm
behind
the
that
creator of
statement.
Moby Dick. People thought I was
Oh, I
crazy.
heard it.
Then I got over
I
3,600
heard it. I heard it in your
I knew
voice.
I wanted to see this masterpiece. Translating this book was like chasing my own whale, an emoji whale. But on this Colorado Gives Day, there are causes more worthy of your support. With so many nonprofits to choose from, you can find something that's important to you. Probably more useful.
I wonder who thought of the idea to come up with Oreo in an espresso shake. To mix espresso and a shake.
And the ice cream.
You sprinkle some Oreo on top of that. Just
Oh,
really
the
gives it
gray
that
wolf
razzmatazz.
is winning? Seriously?
Good razzmatazz.
It's great.
See what's happening in your neighborhood tomorrow morning. Watch
Wow.
Even though they're already here.
I was gonna say,
What
we
is
said
wrong
no
with
to that
people?
one because they were already here, right?
What's the education?
Here
Yeah.
It is 10:30 in the East Coast.
There's a large percentage of the people that did not read the book.
Straps for that one.
States, 93 electoral votes. Donald Trump has won 12 states, 83 electoral votes. Not a surprise yet. Right now, that is a rerun of the 2016 map. We can add 2 more states right now, though. Joe Biden's going to win the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4 electoral votes. Donald Trump had fought pretty hard there. They thought that was one of those states they might be able to take back in 2020, but it was not to be. Joe Biden will win the state of New Hampshire, and it's 4
There's only 2 names.
votes.
Figure it
Donald
out.
Trump will hold on to Louisiana, and it's 8 electoral votes. No surprise there. Blue state stays blue, red state stays red. So let's take another look at those key states up in the northern tier of the country. Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, the so-called blue wall. Right now, that's where things stand. Michigan with 33% of the vote in. Donald Trump has the lead. Wisconsin, 35% of the vote in. Donald Trump has the lead. Pennsylvania, 31% of the vote in. Donald Trump has the lead. The question there
He looks like a little goblin.
is something different happening here.
I mean, in all of these states, first of all, they're going to take time to get final results. All of these states are states that do not process mail-in vote as it comes in, which is the opposite of what we see in Arizona, the opposite of what we see in Florida. So that there is, we always knew there was going to be a bit of a red mirage factor here. As they open up those ballots, as they process that, those are going to be more Democratic votes. Those numbers will change. The question is, how much will they change?
Okay, that's an important point right there. I want to come to Pennsylvania in a minute, but right now
That's
we're just getting
because
some
they're
results in from the state of Nebraska. And
starting to
Trump
open it
has
today.
won
Automatically
all
means they're going to be blue. I don't
votes here
understand
in
that.
the
Part.
state.
Their theory
Three of the
is.
five
I know that's my
in the state
question.
of
Is like
Nebraska.
they're
That's the
obviously they're
overall
guessing.
state.
Well,
Like,
they
it's kind
feel
of irresponsible to
they feel
report
that
that.
the people who are scared to
Why don't you explain that?
go to who don't want to go to the polls right now
You guys can look
they're
at
scared is primarily Democrats. That's their theory.
Here is the beautiful
Two
state of
black
Nebraska.
Me,
right here.
I just nailed it.
Two counties right here. This is supposed to be a conservative county that makes it the
I
second
just
congressional
nailed
district.
I just dropped it.
Well, I dropped it in, but I mean,
I
I go to
voted
the
right
polls.
before I
I wasn't gonna put a stamp on that.
I didn't trust the
Is
No.
Douglas County, and it's like the numbers are reversed here, George. Hillary Clinton won this 4 years ago. This is Omaha right here, right? And
Wait till you
Where?
mention some
you
balloons.
always win this area.
Open
Even
bar.
though Trump pulled off the win in the congressional district 4 years ago, it was because of that other county. The numbers that are voted right now.
There's no
still
balloons.
very,
There's
very
no
close
open
here.
bar. Yeah.
so
You've been reporting about COVID all this time. You didn't understand what that meant.
If the race were to come down, and I don't want to say it, but you know what it is. If it were to come down to 269, whoever won that one county, that tiny little county, Nebraska, those would be the most important Americans right now on the planet.
Most important
That
Americans.
turns it into a 270, 260. We also have
The others can just die.
Oh, I thought they were all sitting in this house. The most important
Oh.
Americans.
Oh my God. Why is Chris Christie there?
He's gotten bigger.
another state to call right now. The state of
The
Utah.
reason
I thought he
is
wanted
because
studies to fall
Nebraska allocates
That means he's eating gravy, mashed potatoes, slider food.
yeah.
By versus the only Republican senator. I'm going to get some Trump impeachment trial.
Oh, there's cookies here.
Let's go
too, I should
back
probably-
down to the state of Pennsylvania.
It's way better than what we do.
Some examples from
I'm sure it's nothing like
What's really
your
interesting
bread
is
pudding,
pick up
but
what John Parler was saying is that these blue wall states are going to take days possibly for us to find out who actually won these states. The Secretary of State in Pennsylvania warned us in the last couple of days that it could take till the end of the week until we know Pennsylvania. But there are some numbers here that I would think the Biden campaign would be very happy with. When you take a look at suburban voters in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump with a small edge there, according to the exit polls, 2 points ahead of Biden. But when you remember that he was 8 points ahead in the final tally over Hillary Clinton, 2 points is an improvement for Joe Biden. And you can see where he got the improvement from. When you break it down, Donald Trump still has overwhelmingly done well with men in the suburbs. But look at this among women. This is where the gender gap presents itself in Pennsylvania. At least we've seen this in other states too, coming in 53% of suburban women going with Joe Biden. One other thing that was really interesting is the independent vote coming in from Pennsylvania. According to the exit polls, obviously, these are all still preliminary. 53% of independents are going with Joe Biden. That's a flip from 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Donald Trump won independents in Pennsylvania 48 to 41. Now Biden ahead by, what is that, almost 10 points.
According to the next polls, we'll see if it holds up as the real results come in right now. We want to take another look at the state of Minnesota as well. Again, that was a state that President Trump had hoped he might be able to flip, like the state of New Hampshire. Right now, 36% of the expected vote is in, and it appears that Joe Biden has a big lead. Let's go back to Alex Perez in Minnesota.
Yeah, George, and what we're seeing is that Joe Biden has a huge lead in Hennepin County, the most populous county here in Minnesota. We're seeing 93% of the vote coming in from Hennepin County, about 70% of that vote right now going to Joe Biden. Those are the kinds of numbers that Democrats want to see here in Minnesota. You know, Obama, there were 19 counties that Obama won that Hillary lost to Trump back in 2016. And the Democrats are hoping they're going to be able to win back those so-called pivot counties. Now, the important vote, the rural areas, the Iron Range, the other part of the state, we still don't know the exact numbers from that area. That part of the state typically looks better for Republicans, typically went for Trump. So we will have to wait a little bit later in the evening to figure out those numbers. But right now, Hennepin County, Ramsey County, the populous areas of this state looking good for the Biden campaign.
Alex Perez, thanks very much. Let's take another look at North Carolina right now. We've got the state of North Carolina with 89% of the expected vote in. It's a very close race right now. Donald Trump at 50, Joe Biden at 49. Tom Yamas.
We have just one county that we have no data on right now in North Carolina. The race is very, very close. We're looking at a spread of about 40,000 votes. This is Granville County right here. This is a swing county. President Trump won it back for Republicans 4 years ago. There's about 15,000 votes for 20,000 votes. That could affect the score. I mean, this is such a close race. This was a state that President Trump outright won 4 years ago, and yet right now it's a nail biter. A lot of the swing counties, President Trump has been able to hold on, especially in the southern part of the state on the border of South Carolina. But Charlotte, this is Mecklenburg County. This is where they wanted to hold the RNC Republicans, hopefully to drive out some voters there later on in the year. That didn't happen because of COVID. Joe Biden's doing exactly what he has to do here. He's driving up the votes. So to win in North Carolina for Joe Biden, he's going to have to do that there as well. We're still waiting for some of the votes.
I love your style. You're always so like,
oh, thank you.
In those counties. If he can keep doing that, there might still be enough vote out there. But President Trump right now on top with about 40,000 votes.
Byron Pitts, what are you hearing in Raleigh?
Well, George, I can tell you that at this point, the Democrats in the state are getting nervous. The expectation was that they knew they would have an early lead. They thought it would be big enough that they could hold off the Republican surge. They were looking for a double-digit lead when the numbers came out. It was only 9 points. And since that time, steadily as each half hour has passed, you've seen President Trump gain ground, and eventually he's taken the lead. And the sense is that the Democrats may be running out of time. And George is still early, right? I mean, North Carolina could go either way. But at this point, one of the things that we're going to see is that hard work can outwork money. In this state, for instance, in the Senate race, the Democrat outspent the Republican 2-1. And in TV advertising, the Trump campaign spent in TV and radio ads. The Trump and the RNC spent $41 million. Biden and the DNC spent $56 million. So that cash difference at this point doesn't seem to be a sufficient difference.
This kind of stuff, it's a little bit both, so not that many. But I always just do it just in case.
Hold on to, but to this point, the
What?
Republican strategy.
Oh, just maybe 2 or 3 at a time.
And then to finish strong.
Now, ones where it's actual planned show, you know, stuff.
Thanks very much. We have another call to make another projection.
Maybe 20, 30. I don't do that much yet on YouTube, so I'm trying to build that up. But so many people who wanted to like come tonight had to stay home, so I'm like, oh, I'll live stream it.
Yeah.
So sit in your couch and look around for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah. For a very long night, Senator Cruz, maybe even several days for this to go on. Is this really going as you expected tonight?
Well, George, we had a record early turnout. 100 million Americans voted early, whether in person or by mail. And as we're hearing from all over the country, we had record turnout in many states. So I'm optimistic. When there's record turnout, often that means Democrats win. And I'm hopeful that Joe still has several paths to 270 towards being our next president. I think his message all along that he and Kamala Harris can bring our country together, can move us out of this deadly pandemic and the mess that Donald Trump's bungled mishandling of the pandemic has gotten us into, has connected with voters and moved people to the polls. I've been checking in with local elected officials, colleagues in the Senate, the labor leaders in several states, and I'm still optimistic about a number of key states that haven't come in yet.
But so, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more. You say he still has several paths. It looks like Donald Trump, we have not projected yet, but is on track in Florida towards a win. That was a must win for him. Are we really heading back to the point where Joe Biden has to win all those 3 key blue wall states, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, still holding out hope also in Arizona?
Arizona, I'm optimistic about, given what I'm hearing from a number of elected officials and local organizers there. And I think that means there's several different paths. It doesn't all come down
It's
to
funny,
Pennsylvania.
how many people are over in that room because they just don't care about the election.
I know.
He's someone who was
I know, I walked around, I'm like, whoa. Forgot.
Delaware has always been
Crowded
close
in
to the
there.
people of Pennsylvania, and I think has run a terrific race.
That's where the drinks are.
As well as in
Yeah,
Michigan
the
and
open bar and the
Wisconsin,
balloons.
Those are states I'm optimistic about this evening.
Are you guys watching? Okay.
Yeah.
My sister is texting me.
I'm hopeful,
She's saying,
but not certain. You know, I
how
think we need to
does
remember that
someone
elections
get
aren't
11%
called on election night. They may get projections from the news, but in the end, elections in the
Projections
United
as
States are
opposed to
decided by
reality,
states
or?
and counties. And it's often days after election night
didn't see
when
that.
all the votes are counted.
Rhode Island?
And given that we had 100 million cast early by mail and in person,
I wish
we
they'd
need to
show
make
us
sure
other
every vote
areas
is
to
counted
see
before we
something.
ultimately reach a decision about
I
this
don't know,
election.
An important reminder, no question about this.
Yeah, I
Senator
wish
Cruz,
the-
thanks very much for your time tonight. I want to go back to Cecilia Vega at the White House. What role are you picking up now, Cecilia, about whether or not President
It's
Trump
been
will
crazy.
speak?
Actually, we just asked at 8
updates on Joe's
when
numbers?
the president will speak, and we were told
I'm gonna-
that they didn't
Last I
have,
looked, it was
we were sort
1.1.
of relying on what Kellyanne
Are you
Conway told you
serious?
at the beginning of the evening, that
I
they
was
will,
on,
in fact, address the nation
crap, I
at
don't
some
remember what
point.
site it
I
was.
gotta say, I'd seen some photos
I've been
from
watching
some
Bethany
photographer
Valdez's
friends of
race,
mine
and there's
here,
no results in
colleagues in
yet.
the White House who were in the
Okay.
room where the president's supporters are gathering in the east room of the White House,
But
and it looks very
we've
much
got
like it is a room
somebody,
where he will speak. There's a
I can't
podium,
remember the name
there are
now, in a
teleprompters up, so I
two-way
would not be
race,
surprised
a
if we hear
libertarian's
from
got
him
almost
at
40%.
some night.
Oh,
Just in terms of a
you're
mood
thinking of
check, George,
the
you know,
guy
we've got,
in
again, these two
Arkansas,
rooms here on the
right?
grounds of
Is
the
it the
White
guy in
House,
Arkansas?
where
What?
aides and
The
campaign
one in
staffers
Arkansas,
are
right?
featured.
No, in our state.
In our state. Oh, I
Going
did not hear
between the
about it.
residents and these rooms and touching base regularly with aides.
Yeah.
They're keeping him up to
See
speed
that
on
on
that
that
front.
front.
But the mood check here is they're feeling extremely confident by what they're seeing. Those North Carolina numbers they like very much, and that's giving them some more confidence in states like Arizona and Nevada as we watch those numbers roll over the course of the evening.
Cecilia Vega, thanks very much. ABC News can now project the Democrats are going to retain the House of Representatives. Not a surprise here, Democrats went into the night with a healthy margin in the House, but we can now say the Democrats will keep that margin.
Yeah,
And Michelle
Well,
was a
Bruce
two-way
Arians
race.
is likely
She's
that
got like,
Nancy Pelosi, who
last I
had
looked, like
spoken to President Trump in over a
29.
year, will
Yeah.
return as Speaker.
That certainly does seem to be the case, George. We know they have had this incredibly
We at least did
there
all
is
digits.
still that relationship continuing, and talking specifically about the fight over COVID relief, which continues to be ongoing, even given the state of this pandemic.
The rest are the
Still,
same
the two
between
sides have not been able
2
to
and
come
5.
together and pass a COVID relief bill in these
I don't
last
know the other
recent
races.
weeks. It seems that certainly is not going to
Most of
happen
them are around
anytime
2.5.
soon. And yet Nancy Pelosi will continue. If Donald Trump continues to be president, Nancy Pelosi will continue to be his foe on Capitol Hill.
Okay, Mary Bruce, thanks very much. Thanks. Another look at the board here. 95 electoral votes for Donald Trump right now. 93 for Joe Biden. That is because we've just added the state of Kansas for President Trump as well. And Terry, as we look at that 95 to 93 at 1044 on the East Coast, 270 winners. They said it looks like we're doing a little bit of replay right now of 2016 with all those big battleground
Oh yeah, I'm not
states
surprised
still
at
out
all.
there. America about as divided as ever.
You know, we used to be a battleground state not that long ago.
That's true.
Terry Moran?
Yes, I'm sorry, George, I was looking at something else. But it does look that way, and it looks like it comes as a surprise.
But a lot of
The
Californians
wind in their sails.
sold their hovels for millions of dollars
The polls have been so
and come
bad.
here with their money.
Is that Donald Trump represents a realignment. The pollsters don't understand.
Yeah.
Post-Donald
I mean, they
Trump.
do. They can buy 3 houses
He
here.
wasn't
You
a
know,
Republican,
and
he
rent
was
2
a
of them out. I
nationalist.
mean,
And that is something that this country hasn't seen. Other countries
They're
have.
everywhere.
We've seen
I know,
people
they
seize
just screw everything up. Every new piece of wood they
a
get
different
into, they just
economy,
fuck it
a
up.
different culture than the Western cultures are trending, and they keep returning populist nationalists to power. Donald Trump is that person. I think it does come as a surprise, certainly to pollsters and to many Democrats as well. There's a lot of things, however, this race comes out for Democrats to do when it comes to the white working class and working class among many of the minorities as well.
Another thank you, Terry. Another state has just gone to Joe Biden, Illinois, and it's 20 electoral votes, solid Democratic state, won by Hillary Clinton in
But not even
2016
close.
by
And I'm like, yeah,
17
3 staters
points.
aren't having that
I
much.
know your home
Well,
But, I mean,
I'm
what's
kind of
interesting
expecting
right
this
there
in all
is
this room, but
I'm
that's
gonna
not
drop the
necessary.
same way
So I
these
know a
guys
lot of
are.
them.
Here's what I would say when you look at the whole
I
map.
don't get it, but
Every state right now that we're seeing is performed to actually
I told you.
what was expected.
I told you.
That's the only one that's outperformed that is different than what happened in 2016.
Well, but that's an important distinction. You say to 2016, not necessarily to the wealth of polls we saw coming into this election.
I don't know. That's what I was going to get to next. I appreciate the lead in right there. Well, the thing is, we should really take this on the road. I think it's really going to. What's happening is people. There's basically when the dust gets settled, you'll see Joe Biden is overperforming in certain areas and underperforming from a vote total. But when you look at the polling, what some of the expectations that people have right now, just on election night, is there some things happening in North Carolina, Georgia, etc. Still could happen, but what's happening is really it's going to come down to 4 states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Arizona.
laughing at us.
I
Make
think
these. They're laughing at us.
back to the actual math.
I kind of think they should
It
pay
looks
their
to me
share.
like
They should
Trump
be
would
stepped
have
on a
to
little
get
bit
between
hard. I don't know.
65 and
They've been allowed to get away
70%
with a
of
lot of
what's
stuff.
outstanding to win Arizona. It's not impossible, but that's a really tall hurdle. And we've
Okay.
seen repeatedly in this campaign where the
president is underperforming with seniors. Certainly, COVID hit Arizona very hard, and this could be an example of what we're seeing. The COVID crisis is actually having a disproportionate impact in Arizona.
It's not a crisis.
Minnesota. He's got to pick up.
It's another virus. Nature finds a way.
In addition to
You have to bend the herd a little bit.
Nature just needs to take all of
if
us
he
out.
loses Arizona.
I mean,
I don't think it's worth taking the entire world economy for another virus. What, the flu A and B?
Joe Biden wins
Takes people too.
Arizona, wins Michigan, and wins
The common
Wisconsin,
cold?
loses Pennsylvania.
Are we gonna
Oh
shut
my
that?
gosh. Are you ready for some tea?
And
Tea?
the way the
Yes.
tie is
So
broken,
I went to
it's
my
broken in the
hometown
House of Representatives, but it's
like
not
2.5
the
weeks
majority
ago,
of the House of
and
Representatives,
the
which
person I stayed
Democrats
with got me
control.
sick. She
Every
tested negative
state's
for COVID.
congressional district
So
gets a
like
single
all
vote.
is well,
And
right?
the
I live in a
Republicans
dorm.
control more congressional
I tell,
districts. I mean, more state delegations.
So I worked for contact
than,
tracers. We
than
trace COVID and stuff.
They have 26.
And I tell her like I'm sick, but the person that got me sick tested negative. So I just needed to like let you know. They put me in isolation. Wasn't allowed to leave my dorm at all. And they got me tested, and it took like a week for the results to come back. That's why I couldn't vote until literally like a few hours ago, because they just let me out at like 5 o'clock today. And I left my dorm Saturday after following CDC guidelines of staying in isolation for 10 days, having no symptoms. Like I was symptom free for like 3 days. I didn't go near anybody. I didn't touch anything. I didn't like in the dorms and stuff. And I have a meeting with the student conduct and stuff for leaving my dorm on Saturday. Even though I wasn't sick, the person who got me sick tested negative. Like, they could kick me out. Literally, they could just kick me out of the dorms. And I'm like, what? I'm a grown woman. I pay to live here. And you're gonna lock me in my room? See you, Denver.
Denver Center's live right now on your Roku, Amazon Fire, or other streaming
Infuriating. And guess what? My
If anybody goes to the grocery store, you're exposed. There you go. Done. Anybody goes to the grocery store, you're exposed. They stop washing the carts down.
Literally. What?
I picked up one of the bottles of sanitizing wipes, and it said it took 5 minutes. It was at Safeway. 5 minutes to be effective.
Even between flare-ups, Dupixent is a
It's
biologic.
infuriating.
They gave us a new bottle of wipes at work.
Many people
I work at urgent care for Kaiser, long for a year. I test people for COVID every day.
significantly less itch.
I already had it. I had it back in December and January because we didn't know it was here yet, even though the CDC published about it in October of last year.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. And then they pulled it off the website. But we as nurses all saw it, or we saw it. And it's just ridiculous. All this that they're saying. The people that have fevers have pneumonia. So if you don't have pneumonia, you're probably not going to have a fever. You'll be what they call low grade, which isn't even a fever. A fever is 101 or higher.
It fights bacteria.
So Kaiser put all this paperwork out for us to do our testing with our, I should say testing, taking our temperatures. They did it 5 weeks strategically after Kaiser, California, which I thought was interesting.
Kaiser, California.
Did it five weeks before we were required to do it. And it's very strategic. It says, the last 7 days have you developed a cough and certain symptoms. Well, not necessarily in the last 7 days if you had it before you started the paperwork. You say no, you're being honest. I've worked with people who are no longer here.
It's almost like the flu and colds and all the other sicknesses don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they do.
No, that's
Oh,
sarcasm.
they're acting like it.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Sorry.
like everyone just pushes all those to the side.
Now we're
like
starting to see strep again. We're starting to see flu A and B again.
No, it's all COVID.
All of it. Definitely 100% COVID. Definitely.
And I'm very angry at places like Starbucks because they're requiring that their employees, if they're out for any reason, sprain ankle, they have to go get a COVID test. They're wasting our tests. So we, they come in and they're like, "Here's a paper from my employer. They won't let me back. I need to pay my rent."
Man,
so we test them, but it's like.
I think I might have caught COVID from that sprained ankle.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah, dude, that torn tendon really just got me like.
got me the virus.
How often?
But
Got you the room.
got you.
Just like that. I'd like a 12-pack, please.
With or without the lie.
Yeah, I remember we're having people come back, they were like, I tested positive 7 days ago, so I want to take another test. It's like, it's too early now. And why are you here? Go home.
It's the Station 19
Go home. Talk to us after 10 to 14 days, not now. And they come in and they expose everybody. It's like, whatever. It only takes one person to mess up a freeway, and that's what I say. So, as hard as we all work, one person doesn't, guess what? And the fact that Douglas County is sending little ones back to school full time, what are they? They're walking petri dishes.
Yeah.
And they don't have some of the surfactants and chemicals and things like that in their nose pathways and in their lungs, so they aren't as susceptible to it. Where as older you get, you have more of that and you're more susceptible. So that's it.
In any of the key battlegrounds,
you're at risk, stay home. If you're not, go back to work and school.
Yeah,
go back.
I agree. Find out, literally find out if you are at risk of, like, if you have those underlying medical conditions, and then go accordingly. Like, that's it.
You're still going to be about 2 degrees.
Yes, you did. After all that money spent.
There's still going to be 2 to 3% of the population that didn't know that they had an issue.
Oh no, definitely.
And they're going to pass away. And I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
But it's a form of triage. You don't cripple the world because of a small percentage.
Yes. Exactly. Mass, what's the word? Mass,
hysteria.
Hysteria. No, like, immunity, mass. Yeah, herd immunity. You know, I found out on accident that I have a very serious underlying condition. So, like, if I were to get COVID, it would be ugly, like, horrible. And it was just another reason for me to tell them, like, I'm fine. I literally just have congestion. If it was COVID, I'd probably be dead.
Well, the season is changing. The wind is kicking it right now. There's still pollen. Things are dying. People put pollen out in the air. Pine trees are famous for that. So, like,
my allergies are horrible.
It's like
Yeah.
sitting in my throat.
Yeah, right? It's like I'm sniffing, I'm sniffling.
Seeming to lean toward
I swear it's not me smoking.
So you know what?
Even though I know you're opposed to something that else is happening, I know you're opposite or other people will change your mind or rational.
I think this violates
So that doesn't bother me. Right now, I know you don't believe me. And I would love to hear your bits about it back and forth.
that would be a real violation.
I mean, you did write the language in a way.
In a Senate race, to win in South
No, we're saying all at once. That's the current practice in
Yet another example of the really just astounding one
yeah, I don't know when
that
it
Lindsey
changed.
Graham has done in recent years. Of course, he came out when in the end of Obama.
Yeah,
I know.
I think we're being even more confused.
I am very surprised. I would love, honestly, if
Last
if
hour,
Rhode
the
Island
numbers
went
have not
red,
changed.
I would just, that would be just like, I love that. That would be a good,
There's the whole thing is a revision. I argue it's not a revision because if it's a, if you treat it as a new revision, I don't think it's
In the basement
Oh,
of the Capitol, and he's not hard to
yeah.
find. He wants the around too. He wants the
The moment California goes red is like the moment the world ends. Like,
So I talked to people at Roberts,
yeah.
in the forum, and they're like, depends
Oh
on
yeah, yeah, like especially like England, like near the bottom of the border, you know, there's a lot of
just really
conservative
there's a good argument.
libertarian. Yeah.
organizations adopting bylaws for the very first time.
Yeah, but the old thing of being a right, but I think
Yeah, and the Republicans have to win 2 to 3
Well,
battles.
I think it's pretty.
And I think
I mean, I know that statistics
I
are
But
continue
there's
to hear
another
from
way
North
around
Carolina
it.
Republican
Is
leadership
it
becoming
comes
more and more
in
confident
through
that
amendment
Mike Wisconsin
proposal, not a
Thompson's
committee.
going to win in narrow race there, and that the president will
yeah,
win the electoral votes. And in Iowa,
I
spoke
definitely
to
know
Second,
a lot
Republican
of
leaders there who think that
Democrats
Joni
and
Ernst is going to be
Republicans
that's
like
like,
groups leaning towards
Oh yeah.
you know.
So I think we should just call it a budget. And then there's no question, it's not a revision.
I think they just
Comes
don't
through a committee, there's a
like.
question.
There's so much. So when we went to the Spikers,
But I'm kind of so tired of the argument right now.
and she was the smallest.
No.
And her advice when she was talking about like,
I'm calling you chief.
they find out that they're actually than they thought.
Everybody was recommending
Oh, like actually,
writing her name
look at
and
this.
her function. Oh, and that's, I mean, I've found that to be so common with,
A lot of people,
you know,
yeah,
more right,
I've
more,
never been on that.
They just follow the
well, of course they do it, they don't want you to know that there's another option, you know? That's
No, you can't.
goes right against their interests, you know?
So we just sit and wait.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So the board
I
hasn't
don't want
selected
to
it yet.
risk anything to give that up.
race
Yeah.
impact.
because I always know I'm
I think they've already assigned theirs. Because their deadline, I think it already passed and then the board extended their own. I don't know. I think, I'm seriously bad that little one will be eating chili.
Colorado temperatures can change dramatically in a matter of minutes, and that can be tough on homes. That's why Lifetime
Did you guys
offers
send your
Infinity's
bylaws?
smart
Bylaws read?
Their products are made from Ultrex fiberglass, which is 8 times stronger than oak. They keep your home warm in winter and cool in the summer. And Infinity offers a wide range of
cocktail.
so homeowners get exactly what they want. Plus, Infinity Farm was just recognized as number 1 in customer satisfaction.
Like so long.
You said Scott.
Why wear a coat?
Oh, yeah.
You need to wear a grit
He's
coat.
a keeper guy.
And they think they're just wearing it's so much more than that.
I was on the very first bylaws committee.
I guess the internet
He
felt the
wanted to
same
put
way,
the
since we
board
raised
under the control of
$29,000
non-members.
I was working to ask
But as
you.
important as bear coats
And I'm
are,
traumatized by
there's a
that.
better use of your money
Never
than
get
Colorado
over it.
Gift Day. With so many nonprofits to choose from, you can find something that matters to you.
I can't believe this presentation.
Hi, can I get one espresso shake and one Oreo espresso shake?
in a state that's primarily.
I had such a meltdown that never got past that.
My whole house is gone.
It's the one, to reintroduce the gray wolves.
Watch
You
Denver
know,
7
did you
News tonight
hear about?
at 10.
So you're implying, right?
Basically, like,
Live
That's
from
so this
ABC
specific
election
species of wolf has
headquarters
never
in
been in
Minneapolis.
Colorado, like natural. And so they're like proposing to spend taxpayer money to bring them back to 3 more states for Joe Biden. Crazy wolf people, I guess. Okay. But so here's the real kicker.
In 2016, Joe
In
Biden
the actual,
in
They're in
2020,
bases.
yeah, well, the kicker. The ballot measure says the state will provide compensation for any livestock killed by these wolves. And who's paying for that?
So here's what's in
How are they gonna do it?
So I want to know I'm watching her, there are real possibilities that there be wolves roaming in the green space, between the houses here, going for deer, but oh shit, there's a dog.
Yeah, this will do.
Yes, I love that. And they're packed. So you're not gonna get one.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna get seven.
I'm sure, then you could apply for compensation, and you would just, if I'm still breathing, well,
It's by 10
Right.
points as well.
Still
Whereas
that.
He's the biggest
I mean, first things first. Yeah.
Look at how much money Parler makes.
And you can see he's up 10 points from
Especially
Hillary
my
Clinton
hometown. My hometown
years ago.
runs
One
on
of the
how
things Joe Biden did here, he spent big. He went to
Hunting
Maricopa
season
County
is
and he
when we
spent
make all our
$17 million.
And
Democrats looked at the map after 2016. They saw that Donald Trump had
Right. They're just gonna wipe them all out.
Kirsten Sinema comes in a Senate race
It's
2
just,
years later.
it is a horrible idea so many levels, and I do not believe it is
top.
It's just like you
He's
science back by
introducing a species that was not native is
his range 10 points as well in that Senate race.
yes, don't like mess with it.
That's interesting.
I literally so they reviewed. Yeah,
in Arizona with
like proponents of this ballot
The Biden campaign has been really good about
he's
these
like
early results
this
and what they're
crazy
seeing
wolf
all
guy.
around.
He's got like a wolf tapestry, just wolf stuff all over him. He's talking. He's like, he's a original. Like he's crazy. I'm like, this guy got something on the ballot. Like, yeah, true. Any old joke, anything on the ballot.
And George, I can tell you just talking to voters here, Trump has strong
Well, I know she was getting her
independence as well. David was talking about the independent vote being so important in Arizona. Independent voters who voted for you might be hearing quite a bit about Trump, but also Democrat Kelly for the Senate. 2 years ago in 2018, 150,000 voters in Arizona voted for Republican Ducey, but also voted for the Senate Kirsten Sinema. So we've seen that independent spirit here in Arizona. Again, this is maverick country, and in the spirit of John McCain, the voters here are going to give the thumbs up or thumbs down to individual candidates they like. But I don't want to forget that Senate race too, because it is huge. This is one that Democrats have really been eyeing across the country. You have the astronaut Mark Kelly against the humble pilot Martha McSally. And this would be the first time that the state of Arizona would send 2 Democrats to the Senate since 1953. That's what gets me. And I can tell you, again, this is the Senate seat that belonged to John McCain, his wife Cindy, and Joe Biden. So we spoke with Dr. Arizona here these past couple days. Didn't care much about any of that.
Thanks very much. This is two big issues
So like
in Arizona, COVID and its
Anything happened with Ross Perot, you know. He was independent. Oh, he was reformed, but then he was independent.
Has been hit disproportionately hard. I would say that this is a community that has been devastated by COVID. George.
And the popular vote.
What happened with Ross Perot? I mean, I know he backed out. He said he was threatened. Later on, it came out that his whole family was threatened.
We're going to see it right now.
Joining us.
But he was kind of building some momentum.
Transportation is always challenging.
Yeah.
Coronavirus. The thank you for joining
I know.
us here this evening.
You know, it sounds great.
But do you think
If
that
you
that
just
they're all
don't,
popular?
you know, if you don't understand. Yes.
Actually sat how much they were doing a situation where some of the states have just said we're not counting anymore because really wants to the West Coast.
I don't have my own family.
There's more to come.
I never gonna run for high enough office that is gonna matter. I don't see myself taking away the college
Oh, absolutely.
the highest
Get your right to New York, Los Angeles, you know.
I said, you're gonna have the whole country, most of these states are going to determine the president or the chair. Determine the president. But I don't qualify for that, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's like, now, can there be in the electoral? Sure. I mean, obviously
crush the virus.
we
What?
oh,
Folks who risk their lives to save lives and now might be losing their job. The unemployment is high.
I'm not getting any hazard pay. I'm just gonna say that out loud. I get no hazard pay, but my daughter gets hazard pay at Home Depot.
and the fact that like it needs that much weight or more is a disadvantage to third parties, of course. So like there's things I would
Going to be victory in the House tonight. Democrats will retain control of the House. So sorry about that. We interrupted you.
Yes.
Finish your thought.
So like that.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that. Now, we were talking about COVID and the impact on Latino communities, and as we've seen the polling heading into today, COVID is among the top issues of concern as Latinos head to the polls as well as the economy.
For some reason, Latinos are being ravaged by COVID. I don't know why. I don't know if it's dietary.
Very many in this campaign, the campaign by Taylor Swift is heavily focused on Arizona. This is a state where they do want to win. They were one of the messages that they kept saying over and over again was immigration. Because the
great wolf now.
Alrighty.
Damn national popular vote.
So do we have any local election results?
Wayne, you can give me that computer.
What?
You can hand me that. I'll put it lower. You can unplug it too.
I will. I'm letting her pick the place.
Unplug. Just pull the plug out. No, right there. Wait. Yes. Stick the plug back in the pin one.
Right in this box where they do like
on the other side.
Absolutely.
You guys have a good one, okay? See you, Ryan. So, do we have any results from Victoria's run?
3.4.
That's actually better than I thought she was going to do. That's good.
How were Americans going to respond to this increase in infections?
Last I
We're
looked,
gonna see that
it's been. They haven't been reporting it on here. I went and looked on the website that was reporting it.
stick with the president despite the surge. 1,000 people died today of coronavirus. And yet, when you look at the map, we really don't see that much has changed as far as people generally. We haven't, again,
Which is why I was laughing at the NEV passes.
we haven't seen a lot of change from how people cast their votes since 2016. It really could be much more daylight.
So never mind.
Yeah, I want to take that
popular
to
compact
you've seen all through this campaign. It's such
I
different
mean, like
ways
how we
to
have to give our
handle
votes to
the
California.
pandemic from Joe Biden and from Donald Trump as the entire country.
Have they spoken about any of our ballot initiatives yet?
Yeah, that's been going across the bottom of the screen right now.
Then nut up and get ready to don't change.
The Gallagher reveals that's
And they're gonna realize
In the next week, and we've seen different approaches. We've seen different approaches when it comes to testing. We have seen some missteps. We've seen a series of misconceptions and mistruths in the biggest and most powerful.
That's how the vote is gonna be switched. Now, guess what? Swing vote, swing states, they're gone.
Sorry. Pick up on what Cecilia and Lindsay said.
Stop scaring people.
Does anyone have wine on the table?
While it did not start
Ding,
the
ding,
way
knock, knock.
disparities that exist in medicine,
Does anyone wine on the table?
certainly put them under a spotlight. And when you look at the
They
state
voted,
of Arizona,
we're at 53% for the popular vote.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it?
American Indians and Alaskan.
Really?
Yeah. There is a disproportionate amount of this
I'm
pandemic.
not so sure. All right, when are we moving to Wyoming?
I told you, new way. New way. That's what it
We don't have to split this in Washington. It took us 3 days to drive out of Mojave, get San Francisco, between President Trump and Joe Biden. And by the third day, we're going to yeah, Washington is fifth.
We do have to address
the whole list.
So I went to Oregon. So nationwide, they're counting popular votes or delegate count?
They're doing both. And I don't know what the electoral thing is. I haven't.
I'm sure it is.
That's popular right there.
Those are our good propositions.
You know what though?
No, I know. What I was talking about was before.
That's 76% with Donald Trump, 22% with Joe Biden. And among
She has that lovely
tonight
touch screen
breakdowns,
in there.
Joe Biden
You know how much
leads
that
among
sucker costs?
independents in the national
Well,
poll,
we're not going to talk about
55 to 40, and among women in the country, Joe Biden 56% to Donald Trump 43%. We look at men, 49% Donald Trump, 48% Joe Biden.
Right, the electric
Have you noticed that the Toyota has a yard full of Priuses that are 5 years old? Do you know why?
No question about that, Martha.
They're all leases.
Warranty runs out 5 years. Then you replace the cars.
I have to say that I was surprised when I crossed the country, and it was almost like people are done with it. It was very blue state, red state. They were wearing masks in blue states. They were not wearing masks and masks in red states.
Well, there you go. Ohio is above now. When we first started walking, Ohio was above.
The only car I've ever owned,
especially to the Trump voters. I mean, remember.
Oh, see, there's Rhode Island, 49 to 49.
In 2016, it was, we don't want to vote for a Washington guy. He's something.
No, but that's when you're you got the
But
concerns.
they're voting on his record.
Yeah.
And that record is COVID. That record is the economy. That record is immigration and race relations. So they've made the decision, those Trump voters, that they will race what Donald Trump has done in the last 4 years, including COVID.
Have they called any racist yet?
Yeah. That's not how this works.
He could. Where's it when he goes into certain establishments so he can get into them? But his mask said, this is dumb. And today,
Karen, have they called any racist yet?
Yeah, Gardner.
It's wrong. So that
Now, a bunch of them they have, I haven't paid attention to all of them.
With presidential races. Any
Oh yeah,
states?
ours, Colorado.
Colorado's been called.
Oh, Colorado was the first one called that.
And this is in Columbus, a very crowded area.
I don't know what other ones have.
Not that close.
But they were not social distancing, and they were just, they just wanted to get out and try to forget about it.
But you would think, judging by these reporters, that they weren't reporting on the election, they were reporting on COVID. 50% of the coverage has been on that.
Or a lack of balloons
Yeah.
in bars.
Yeah, very much more on the lack of balloons.
No balloons pop. No open bars. No, there isn't.
this is abuse child tennis.
Montana, Biden is winning Montana.
How could that be?
Biden's winning Arizona. How did that happen?
Half the vote's in. That's 12.
I just can't believe Montana.
No.
So what you do is you dig into each other's.
Well, you gotta understand the population growth in Montana is all in
What about like
Boise.
the
Yeah,
one where
there's
it's
a lot of people coming in from California.
where your eyes are
Say for GOP leadership, they said that as President he was going to open up a more substantial lead. In Georgia, we had the same thing in North Carolina. The Republicans then leading by more than a point over Cal Cunningham, and the president is leading by just less than a point over Joe Biden in North Carolina. And that's been a steady progression through the evening
until one of you
to,
quit.
you know,
I think every time
shift
we're
it
supposed to say
forward,
something
and they feel like North Carolina again.
We flew darts at each other, like darts, like dart guns, and they'd stick like an inch
North Carolina
in
right
your
now. If we
skin.
can pull up the North Carolina map, it's got
What? Sorry.
a very close race right now. Only about 80,000, 70,000 votes separating Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
Yeah,
What
I'm
can
just
we look
right
at? We're on
Oh my goodness.
It's going, it's pushed, it's.
Let's look at the major counties
This
here
whole
because
time
that's
you're
what Joe Biden needs
crazy
to
game.
win. If you want
Wait, it's
someone
comparing
else in here,
me.
we're looking at
Oh, I don't know, the mic's over there.
I'm talking about like physically assaulting my siblings.
Yes, everybody?
He's older than me.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, see, exactly.
of the voting, not a whole lot more votes going to come out of there. Wake County, the same story. Joe Biden is doing well. He's improved in these cities around states like North Carolina. Let me look at one more area real quick right here. This is Guilford County. This is a county that Trump campaign thought maybe they kind of prove on. It's pretty much the same where it was.
Right. Yeah.
But George, as I look at this map, it's pretty much the same. Joe Biden is able to score in the cities.
Half of what they're saying is like they're guessing or they're comparing it to Clinton, which
he's on top and he's still winning.
they keep comparing. Well, it's
South
much
Carolina.
higher than Hillary Clinton.
We're taking a close look at.
It's over.
He's actually doing much better there. So
It's over 30 years ago.
like the Trump team is able to drive up their voters.
Okay, Tom Yamas, thank you very much. We're going to take another quick break. We have a long night ahead.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
That's the last.
Yeah, we have a whole other pan. It's very yummy and it's very delicious. Yeah, there's a whole other pan.
I better get going, but thanks for
Okay, thank you.
Now,
Very interesting results.
Sure, where Wayne went.
Right downstairs. Several of these states are different.
Oh, okay. Wayne will be back up in a second. He had to get something in the
Show
basement.
on all of television. Number one in late night versus the competition. Number one in politics versus the competition.
I haven't seen the electoral thing yet, though.
Number one in streaming news. Most trusted,
Ah.
most watched.
Wow.
Is
Wow.
America's
Well,
number
they're just not calling any of the Trump states.
Living for the weekend? Us too.
Because Ohio, they
This
could call.
Sunday is all win and no risk. That's why new customers can bet risk-free up to $100 this Sunday. You don't want to miss it. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up anytime for this Sunday to bet risk-free up to $100 on game day. This offer ends soon, so download the app now. Give yourself one more reason to get excited for game day and make it rain.
Maybe they're trying to.
Dave Thomas here with Colorado sports legend Dave Logan.
Well, that's why
Lifetime is the only
they-
siding company you personally endorse.
You know,
Why
when
is
they
that?
said they
Well,
closed
TBA
down all the
only
liquor
selects
stores,
companies that have
all of us
outstanding
nurses
business
literally got
practices
together and
and
said, do you really want everybody detoxing right
Lifetime
now?
is the number one James Hardy siding dealer in
And
the
so they
country.
reversed
Their
it a couple
products
days
are
later
100%
because of us.
hail-proof.
We were like,
Well,
really?
and the DTs.
Yes, yeah, that's what I
Hardy
said. Yeah.
siding will completely transform the look of your home.
Get
Like
40%
they're gonna
off
be-
siding and installation. Call 1-800-NEW SIDING today.
There's
It's
been
the
a lot of
best time to
derived
find your
behavior
perfect
and,
bedroom
you
set
know.
at American Furniture Warehouse with our huge Black Friday event going on now. Come in and find the best brands like
What
Sealy,
was the point
Serta,
of shutting
Beauty
down?
Rest, and Nectar. We have over 60 mattresses under $5.99.
So
With deals that can't be beat and our everyday low prices,
I
make
would
sure
say
get
to
a great
make
night's sleep
things
in a room you'll love.
on the same
Our Black
page
Friday
as
event will give
large
you the best deals around. So
falsehood
check
that
out
they
one of our
keep
Florida showrooms or visit us online at
pushing
AFW.com.
on the American public. I think there's some higher ups that are pulling the strings on that with respect to big business, because you know Home Depot stayed open because they sell toilet paper. So if you're a mom and pop with any kind of smaller one, they wanted to squelch you know, and it worked, and it totally worked. Yeah. We'll find out the complete truth in about, I'd say about 5 to 7 years. It seems to be the delay for truth. Yeah. But it will. Right. I mean, they're all owned by, you know, the select 25 people that pretty much run the world.
The fact that Biden has won New Hampshire, for example, might make you say, well, actually, it's part of Florida.
I wouldn't even give them that much credit
Arizona looks
for
okay
actually
for
trying
Biden.
to
So
do
look,
something. I
it's
think
gonna
they
be a
just
long
jump on
night.
whatever
I think we're
bandwagon they
seeing how
can in the moment
days to get resolved.
to make it
But still,
sensational.
how much is that an isolated incident in Florida versus
Sensationalism
a
sells or
national
gets your
law
attention,
like we
right?
saw in 2016?
If it didn't, there wouldn't be all those trash magazines at the checkout and,
expect to see
you know what I mean?
millions
So,
and millions of votes coming in from the Pacific West Coast, especially California.
a lot of people that can't do anything
Biden
else
will
are
probably win the popular vote, but that doesn't make you president.
sitting here glued to the
And
TV.
so, you know, I mean, look,
You watch it long enough, you know,
it feels
kind
a
of
little bit like
brainwashing you.
2016, but also a bit like 2018, where Florida went very badly for Democrats, but they had a good night in the end of the day. The fact that different corners of the country, the fact that New Hampshire went for Biden and Arizona looks okay for Biden would give Democrats quite a bit of hope, I would think. But, you know, if they lose Pennsylvania, then we probably have a second term for Trump. So it's going to take a long time to know what happens in Pennsylvania, what happens in Wisconsin, what happens in Michigan. We'll know more about Arizona probably by, 2 or 3 in the morning tonight, but it's going to be a while here. Well, and we should just emphasize that. We said it at the beginning, and I will say it again right now, that we have to have patience. We have to wait until
We're just guessing.
We know it's going to take some time to count the votes in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. It is looking increasingly clear that we are not going to know who the next president of the United States will be tonight, and we're just going to have to be patient as we go through.
It didn't last time either. What was it announced like at 3:34 in the morning, something like that?
The state of Georgia right now. 67% of the
Remember, it was
expected
really,
vote
really
is
late,
in
really early in the morning. I don't
top
even
now, Donald Trump appears to have.
because like I think at 1, my daughter and I said, you know, screw this, we're going to bed.
And I want to show you
Woke up and I was like, holy crap, he's in.
Donald Trump actually winning in the early vote in the state of Georgia. So we talked about the spread, almost 400,000 votes. Donald Trump's holding what he needs to hold. The swing counties he took from the Democrats 4 years ago, he's winning again. Places like Peach County. We wanted to look at Peach County because, as you can imagine, they got peaches there. But it also has a good breakdown in the state. He had 50%
Brilliant.
44% African American. It's a place that Donald Trump won 4 years ago, and he's holding up the same lead. But this was a county that Barack Obama also won. The big question, George, and this is maybe for other people
really
on
no
the panel, but
relevance
the
on
big
today.
question
It
is,
just doesn't.
can they
People
find
live,
those
people die, people
300,000 votes
move.
in this
Right.
area? That's what's going to need to happen because in the rural areas, in northern Georgia, southern Georgia, the Piedmont area, Donald Trump is winning. His people are turning out. Are those 300,000 votes still there?
I mean, look at
We're going to have to
California. It's going to be a state of have and have nots.
you know, like the capital.
You know, if there's going to be no middle class there, I think in like 10 years.
But the question is he doing
It's
well
so
enough
expensive.
to drive out all those numbers and drive them up in a big way? I don't know if 3 or 4 percentage points is going to do that. He's going to have to come up much higher.
Okay, Tom, thanks very much. We should also say we now know that in the Senate race, one
he
of the
doesn't
Senate
know.
races in Georgia, Reverend Raphael Warnock, the pastor of Ebenezer Baptist Church, will be in a runoff with the Senator Kelly Loeffler right now, Republican Senator. Yvette Simpson, that could be quite a barn burner on January 5th.
We are ready to go to battle for that seat, and we're super excited about the fact that Raphael, who is a newcomer, has been able to do so well against two pretty well-known Republicans in the state. So we predicted that this will go to a runoff. Our folks are ready, and we hope to see that seat.
A very good possibility there'll be a second runoff on the same day.
Exactly.
Let's pull up now Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Of course, those are those key blue tier states. Blue wall for the Democrats was taken away by Donald Trump in 2016. Right now, 44% of the expected vote in Michigan, Donald Trump is ahead. 52% in Wisconsin, Donald Trump is ahead. 45% in Pennsylvania, Donald Trump is ahead. John Carr, we're going to repeat this again. Right now, this is not necessarily unexpected.
Yeah, this is not unexpected. Remember, the mail-in vote, which we expect to be overwhelmingly Democratic, didn't even start counting. That we started counting until today. So I fully expect that Biden's numbers will increase as it goes on, and not just tonight, but over the coming days. I mean, in Pennsylvania, they have told us that Friday is the very earliest. In fact, Pennsylvania will still accept absentee votes
just not
that come
well.
in as long as they were postmarked by today until Friday. So this is going to take some time. But George, looking into some of the details here, particularly in Michigan, I see signs of that should be concerning. Trump performing in these early returns quite well in places like Macomb
I just
County,
can't
which
believe
he
what
won
I mean,
last
I knew
time.
he was a
He
scum,
seems
but
to
I
be
didn't
potentially
realize the
putting up numbers
degree of
bigger than
scumminess.
he
My
did 4
gosh.
years ago, and also in Kent County, Grand Rapids, which is where he
Well,
held
I was
his
talking about
very
the other,
last
but
rally.
Biden's
This
pretty
year.
bad. I was talking about Epstein, but
You're hearing about how the county is
Biden's
going,
pretty
how
bad
long it's
too.
going to take.
Well, George, it will definitely be a marathon
keep
nail
Hillary
biter here,
away
but at least in Michigan, not as marathon as projected. The Secretary of State Benson said a short time ago in a press conference that she believes it will be fully tabulated within 24 hours. Now, they originally said they wouldn't be done until Friday, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that yesterday, unlike the other upper Midwestern states, they had 10 hours to process. They had an army of volunteers come in, hand open envelopes, check signatures, so that at 7 a.m. this morning, with a double the number of speed counting machines, they were able to get to work, and they believe they're getting to work much faster. That said, they are also seeing record turnout in Detroit. I spoke earlier to the NAACP's Reverend Anthony, and he said that they had 100 lawyers fanned out looking for voter intimidation, and what they ended up doing was spending a lot of time getting out the vote, bringing souls to the polls, as the Reverend told me. But at the same time, Republicans are also incredibly enthusiastic about their ground game. The party chair, told me that they had 9 million voters. Every time they were out canvassing, they never saw any Democrats, and they
speaking of
tell you
Volker, yeah, I want to know what happened with the
enthusiasm that they see and they viscerally feel every time they see these giant rallies, so many of which took place in the battleground state of Michigan. And George, don't get me started on the lawn signs, but you see them all over. You know you're in a battleground.
RCV.
When there's a Biden sign on one side, the Trump signs on the other. I went to a Trump volunteer meeting, a packed room, and the organizer said, "How many of you have had your lawn sign
entire
Yeah, it was on their ballot
would,
for
say
mayor.
something about just how
To
tenant
pick the
without
mayor
is
by
here
ranked
out in
choice.
several
It
stores.
sure does. I want to go to Mary Bruce right now. Mary, are you picking up any
So,
concern
I'm
in
gonna
the
try to
Biden
Google
campaign,
that.
what John Carl was saying about the way the votes are coming in Michigan and how they're coming in?
Very interested in
The
that.
read from
By
inside the
carrier
Biden campaign
pigeon.
right now is urging caution and patience. They say, look, they are feeling fine, and that is because this was expected. They knew that many of these key states, especially the blue wall states, were going to take some time. That said, there has been a bit of a shift in tone. Given the real enthusiasm, the real confidence that we were hearing from members of the Biden team heading into tonight, now you hear more the words hopeful, optimistic, but they were really bullish earlier in the night. Now, not so much of that. But, George, I have to tell you, behind me, they have started to bring in the cars here to this drive-in rally. If I'm really trying to pick at the tea leaves here, not sure what that means about whether we may or may not see Joe Biden later tonight. But, of course, he's sort of changed his tune there, saying he may actually not speak until tomorrow.
But perhaps they will be ready for him to speak. We're going to keep an eye on that. Of course,
Okay,
we're going to be
weird.
here as long as the votes are being counted.
It was
Tonight,
a
we're gonna take another
combined
quick
bill,
break. Right now, election 2020
well,
coverage
combined
continues right now.
measure,
Joe Biden has 187.
which I kind of was like a bit leery of, because their mayor right now is appointed, so it was a combined measure to elect their mayor and to elect the mayor by RCV. But when I'm looking at this site where they're doing the reporting, they're only describing it as electing the mayor, and they don't mention RCV at all.
I'm going to tell you.
But it was all in one thing. And if that's the case, it's past overwhelming. Which is really interesting because Dwayne and I are going to work on that here in Castle. Trying to get her mayor again. Because the cities are very, very good. They want to test it with the race.
Did you leave our son in a riot?
The preferred term is uprising.
And the funny thing is, it would be kind of parallel because we just got the elected mayor thing passed here.
Colorado is no stranger
But they
to
did it in one thing. I want to try to find another site because that's weird that they didn't even mention RCV
It's
on
written
their
on our
ballot.
faces. But one thing that will never change is our spirit and what it means to call this incredible
No, I was on some website called The Patch.
make Colorado
Had all the
special.
results.
The mothers, the
That was the
fathers,
first one that came
the
up.
families. Together we look to the future while celebrating life in this state we all love. We're the innovators, the risk takers, the explorers. Though we may see things from different perspectives, everyone has a voice. We're the dreamers, the thrill seekers. We're heroes, storytellers, creators, the people who help make a difference. We are
National
Colorado.
populace about 120 by 71%.
Are you kidding me?
God, that's horrible.
Here?
Yeah.
What? Never mind. Because they're smoking the
Us too. Because this
banana
Sunday is all
peels.
win and no risk. That's why new customers can get risk-free up to $100 this Sunday. You don't want to miss it. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and sign up anytime before this
They don't seem to
Sunday.
understand it's not the popular vote. It's still the electoral college. They're just changing the way they dictate how they go.
Right.
It's not a popular vote.
Live from
It's just,
ABC's
yeah,
election headquarters in New York City. Here again, George Stephanopoulos. And we're back here at ABC News election headquarters in New York, 11:30 here in the East. And as we said, it's going to be a long night, a lot more counting ahead. It could spread over the next several days. And so that makes me want to bring back our legal team, our ballot watch team. I want to bring in Kate Shaw and Dan Abrams right now. And Kate, we just talked about Pennsylvania. We've had this Supreme Court ruling on how and whether and when ballots can be counted in Pennsylvania. It could prolong this process. Could be more challenges ahead.
That's right. So actually, the Supreme Court has now twice had a chance to weigh in on this question of whether ballots that arrive between today and Friday can be counted under Pennsylvania law. Both times, the court turned back challenges brought by Pennsylvania Republicans that would have cut off, the return date today on election day itself. So right now, those ballots are going to be counted, but they're being segregated because the Supreme Court actually left wide open the possibility that it might take
Kanye
another
West
look at
is
this
actually
case
trending
after
what?
the election, and we don't know yet. In fact,
6th,
it's important
5th,
to note
5th.
that Justice Amy Coney Barrett is now in
In
place, and
Colorado.
there's a question about
Are
whether
you
she might
kidding me?
participate, which would of course give an additional vote when the court comes to considering this late arriving ballots
Yeah, I
question.
want to bring that to Dan
3.
Abrams as well because
She's
you know,
got,
remember 2000 Florida.
there you
If it's
go.
close, that adds another layer of complication as well. If you have recounts and have to have the ballots counted again. So first you have the challenges, the existing ballots, and then the possibilities in a close race of recounts and the courts getting involved in that.
Right. We've said in our room here, the legal room, we're only relevant if this thing is close.
Yeah,
This thing is not
passed in
close.
Boulder, but
And so as a result, the lawyers are all on speed dial. There's
RCB,
no
direct
question
election of mayor.
that there are going to be some form of legal challenges. We don't know exactly how real they will be, how significant, but Pennsylvania could become critical here. And as you point out, not just with regard to the 3 days of ballot counting, because there may not be that many votes in those 3 days. I think you could argue that the more critical question is going to be exactly how they're counting the variety of votes, the signatures matching, etc. And I think that those could be the critical questions here, even more than that 3-day window.
Okay, and Terry Moran, we saw how that played out in Florida in 2000.
We did, and one of the big questions here is how much will this conservative supermajority that is now the Supreme Court defer to state Supreme Courts?
She's at 1.4% of the vote of the two with 38,800 votes here in Colorado so far.
Okay, many questions ahead. We'll see if we get
Joe.
to them. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be right back.
And it's looking like we're going to get stuck with Hickenlooper.
Yep, he already took a speech and everything.
I mean, not that I think Cory Gardner's been.
Like I said, I think it was like a crapshoot.
Yeah, which one?
You've just blown up the Bachelorette. Bachelor Nation has questions.
Claire's gone? What just happened?
We have never dealt with anything like this.
Are we going home now, or do we get a new Bachelorette?
This stuff. I don't get it.
The Bachelorette on a special night, Thursday on ABC.
Tomorrow morning, in-depth local election coverage continues here on Denver 7. New election results the minute you wake up, plus 360 reporting you won't get anywhere else. Watch Denver 7 News tomorrow morning starting at 4:30 and
results the minute you wake up. I guess so. You just woke up.
Education.
New to you, right?
Education.
Education.
Opportunity.
Undervalued.
Important. It's an investment in my future.
It's never too late.
The system's in trouble.
Different people see the same topic differently. Denver 7 360 reporting, bringing multiple perspectives together so you can make up your own mind.
Happiness. Happiness. Happiness.
Happiness.
Well, I can be happy about the RCB thing.
Family.
Money.
Friends. Fun. Being a grandma. Sharing my life with everyone.
Giving my family the life I never had.
Different people see the same topic differently. Denver 7 360 reporting, bringing multiple perspectives together so you can make up your own mind.
Denver 7 covering the 2020 election like no other local news station can. Get continuing coverage with in-depth 360 reporting, expert election night analysis, and up-to-the-minute election results.
Makes
on
them
races and
experts.
issues that
I'm
matter
curious.
most. Tonight at 10, stay with Denver 7 News. Denver 7 360 election coverage continues tomorrow morning starting at 4:30.
Yeah, I think they got one of those certificates off the internet.
Headquarters in New York City.
Is that like
Here
getting
again,
an ordained minister over
That's
there?
right.
We should do that.
Let's take a look
We
at the
should.
electoral map right now. So far, Joe Biden has won 14 states, 187 electoral votes. Donald Trump has won 17 states, 114 electoral votes. So far, at least, according to ABC News, every
Don't
state
call
that
it
Hillary
fun,
Clinton
because
has
that's
Texas
what happened
was
last time.
decided already. Now it's not even on.
Hillary wasn't winning.
Trump repeating his
I
wins
lost
in
10
the red
bucks
states.
last
The big
election.
battleground states still out there
Yeah.
right now. Let's take a look at some of them, starting
This
with the
year,
state
I'm not going to win
of
or lose
Florida.
any.
And there, with 94% of the vote in, Donald Trump has a relatively healthy lead, to be honest.
Yeah, George, and I think when we look at Florida at this hour, it's really just some simple math, and I'll walk you through it. When we talk about the vote difference right now, plus 5 million, so huge turnout in Florida. We have to
said that
acknowledge
no
that.
candidate
We're talking about a
who's ever lost
400,000
Florida has won the White House.
voter gap, right? I told you 4
So
years ago,
either
Hillary
it'll be a
Clinton comes
first
out of Miami-Dade County
or,
with a 300,000 plus advantage. What happened tonight? Let's go to Miami-Dade County and look at this. George, we're talking about less than 100,000 difference right there. This entire state, you could bake it on this one county right here. Republicans were able to make inroads with voters there. Donald Trump, even though he lost, he actually won.
Okay, Dave Amir, what do you
get these people?
I want to be on TV.
Oh, man.
52%.
What the heck
What did you
was
just
that?
say?
Even though he lost, he won. Damn.
I know.
I want to play on this guy's team.
He is not buying my lottery ticket.
I'm a winner. Really, I am.
Corridor and other parts of Florida, whether or not they've been
Do not
affected
take
by the
that guy to
pandemic,
Vegas.
they
Jemima
certainly
sent
would
us
be able to hug their
lottery
grandchildren,
tickets
as
because
Lindsay
she
Davis
flew
talked
to
about
Saudi.
earlier in the evening.
For the rest
52%
of
of
the year.
seniors in Florida.
Sent us lottery tickets. I won $5. I'm like, it's the Massachusetts lottery. How am I going to claim it?
For Joe Biden.
Okay, let's take a look now at the state of Arizona. Pull it up right there. Still 75% of the expected vote in, 54-45 right there for Joe Biden. Big lead there. We see that Mark Kelly.
All they keep saying is like Arizona, Florida, and Ohio. Why?
In the county yet.
Can we
Let's
learn
do
something
something
else?
on that.
Yeah,
Nobody else
one
is
more
done.
data point we haven't talked about yet. It's a county that's sandwiched in between
East Coast place. It's
Maricopa
like
and
11:30
Tucson, right?
p.m. Like,
Kanawha County right here. This was the county that swung the biggest for Trump 4 years ago, is where he was most popular. And look at his numbers down. He's down 7 points right there. In a very tight race, in a very tight election, you can't be down 7 points anywhere. It's just one sign. But the big headline, George, so far coming in, 77% of the vote in. And Joe Biden is up in a very big way in Maricopa County. This is Phoenix. This is Scottsdale, Mesa area. He's doing very well right there. This is the surprise of the night so far in Maricopa County.
I was going to say, they're
Donald
not
Trump
thinking
had
clearly.
underperformed from Mitt Romney. Democrats thought Republicans were vulnerable there. They went in, and right now they're on top.
Okay, let me bring in Nate Silver back again as we pull up and look at Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania again. Those states still coming in. Let's talk about the possible paths now for Biden and Trump. Very similar to what we saw, first of all, in 2016.
Yeah, so if we can speculate a bit. So what happens if Donald Trump wins Florida, wins Ohio, wins North Carolina, but then Biden wins Arizona? We
He did
actually think
win
it's a decent
Arizona.
map
We already
for Joe
established that.
Biden.
Where are you?
85% favorite. There's also a chance of electoral college tie.
What's that?
But Trump, if he loses Arizona,
Saying what ifs,
he could actually
What
win
if what?
Pennsylvania.
It's
and then
over for
269.
Arizona.
But it's
And it went to Biden.
Yeah, 76% or whatever.
Nebraska.
That is disturbing that Arizona swung to blue.
If Arizona goes Biden, that really reverses not all the bad news Democrats got earlier in the evening, but makes Trump an underdog again.
Well, and then, picking up what John Carl was saying about Michigan, this is pure speculation at this point, but we're just trying to figure out what different maps might look like.
Trump is all about
If
his
the
hair, the
Democrats
other one
win Arizona,
supposed to be Biden,
Joe
but
Biden holds Pennsylvania, but Donald Trump
it looked like
gets
he was
Michigan.
more like Bush.
They have only 16 electoral votes to Pennsylvania's 20.
Pennsylvania is bigger. 20 votes in Pennsylvania versus 16 in Michigan and Wisconsin, that can make a difference some of the time. There's a lot we don't know. Nevada could be in play, probably not.
They show nationally how many votes Joe's getting?
1 point.
A lot of photo finishes.
1.1 last time I
Arizona
looked.
becomes a pretty important state.
You mentioned Nevada, and I wonder, Tom, if we can pull, I'm talking to the control
I'll
room
just
right now. Can we
keep
pull
this
Nevada
over
and
my
take a
house.
look at what we're seeing in the state of Nevada right now? They're going to take time.
Don't matter where it
Take
goes.
care.
We're both
Have a good night, everybody.
You know?
Let's go back to Wisconsin. Deb Roberts, I want to go to you in Wisconsin right now. What are you hearing about the possibility of when the count will be continued there and when it will be finished?
George, I got to tell you, there's good news, bad news. The good news is it seems to be going very well. All of those absentee mail-in ballots, about 2 million of them, they're being processed very well. The Wisconsin Election Commission head, Megan Wolf, said that they're processing very well. But then she said she probably will give another news conference about 11:30 in the morning. So I'll probably be here right on time for Good Morning America. Now, the one thing that is sort of interesting, and you've talked a lot about this tonight, is those ballots probably will reflect a very tight race. Wisconsinites seem to just have this love-hate or like-hate relationship with the president. On the one hand, they just don't like him. More than 50% think that he's not doing a good job. 56% don't like how he's handling the pandemic. I talked to a guy in line today, and he said he would have swum through a lake of alligators to get there to vote because he wanted to support Biden, and he just didn't like where the country is going. But then I spoke with another voter who said, I'm worried about health care, and this is in a state that is dealing with the COVID virus. But then he said, I think I'm going to support the president, or I just supported the president. So Wisconsinites are very mixed here, and I think it's going to be a long night, a long morning. And, the polls show that Biden is up.
But it's going to be very, very tight here. I think Wisconsinites just aren't sure what they think. The president's been here 6 times. Joe Biden came here 3 times. He was here in Kenosha last night. He projects strength, and they seem to like that in spite of the fact that they don't like him.
Deb Roberts, thanks. Let me go to Pelham in Pennsylvania for the same question. What are you hearing about how the count is going, how long it's likely to take?
He lost, but he won.
I know. So, sort of like what Deb just said. So good news and some bad news. They say that the counting is going smoothly. Originally, they thought that we would have the majority of those mail-in ballots counted by Friday, but we just heard a little bit earlier today from the Philadelphia City Commissioners, and they were saying that they originally thought that they were going to be able to do about 32,000 ballots an hour. That's just not happening. They're saying right now they're doing about 10,000 per hour. They've done about 75,000 votes. Mail-in ballots so far tonight. They've estimated they have about 350,000 to count. We're supposed to hear from them again at about midnight to give us an update. That's the next kind of ballot drop number that we're expecting to hear from them. But here's the thing. It's just going to take a long time. I've heard you say this tonight repeatedly, George. People are just going to have to be patient. This is a slow process. Here in Pennsylvania, I mean, there's like 2.5 million mail-in ballots that came in. This is a state that's never done early voting for all voters that wanted to take advantage of it. This is a first-time process, and it's going to take some time. The governor spoke earlier tonight asking everyone to just have their patience. They are doing the best that they can. People are working around the clock, as we're seeing here in Philadelphia, but it is going to take time. They want to make sure this count is accurate, George.
Which is the most important thing for them to do right now. Ava Pilgrim, thanks very much. We can project 2 more states right now. The state of New Mexico is going to go to Joe Biden, state of New Mexico, and it's 5 electoral votes. Hillary Clinton won by 8 points in 2016. Joe Biden will win it tonight. And the state of Idaho, it's 4 electoral votes. No surprise, they're going to go to Donald Trump. He won the state by 30 points in 2016. Whatever the city of New Mexico. Let me start with you. We're going up on midnight now. On the East Coast.
It is the stage.
Going as you expected? What's the surprise? What are you looking for ahead?
I think the night's going better than I expected.
For Republicans.
For Republicans, yeah. I mean, I was in the camp where I thought Joe Biden was going to win this, and it is far from clear that he's going to win this election. And the president seems to be doing much better in the upper Midwest. Now, again, we don't know exactly what vote is in. It may be heavily election day vote, but clearly in some of those counties, the president is overperforming, and even overperforming what he did in 2016. So I think this is going to be a nail biter.
Well,
I think the way I look at it is every state to date has performed like they did, not changing. There wasn't really a move in the sense that some people thought there was this tailwind coming, except for Arizona. And the only state that's flipped so far is Arizona.
It hasn't flipped yet.
It hasn't flipped yet, but
it's going to tighten considerably.
It's going to tighten, but I'm going to go out on a limb then, given it's midnight, it's way past my bedtime, and say that those are numbers that are hard at this point for the president to break. That said, we have big numbers in Atlanta and Metro Atlanta, big numbers in the metro areas of the upper Midwest that are out. It's going to come down to those 4 states to make the determination, and we are going to be here every night Friday, so I look forward to seeing you every night. I mean, so we're going to be here right through, and you're not going to be here. I'm going to sit next to you, so we're going to be
Let alone every Friday night. I work. That hurts.
And I think the problem is, what was your baseline is going to determine your mood. And if you thought this was going to be a big tailwind, you go, oh boy, that was disappointing. As Nate said, the truth is, it hasn't been. It's actually, the states are doing exactly what they had to.
It's also looking very good for Republicans to control the Senate. Joni Ernst is ahead. Tom Tillis is ahead. It's not done in North Carolina. The Georgia senators are ahead. If you go to a runoff, especially, if Biden does pull this off, you're likely to keep control of the United States Senate. People like a split power, and we will see at least one runoff in Georgia.
You don't want split power.
No, we don't. We want to take the whole darn thing, of course. I think a couple of big picture things I'm seeing is that the strategy to flip Republicans to Democrats didn't pan out. And so now we're all hoping that enough Democrats came out, particularly in urban centers and some suburban areas, to really carry the day. And I think that was the big surprise, I think, for a lot of us who were expecting, particularly with what happened at the convention, extension and Lincoln Project and all these Republicans were going to flip, but we're seeing Donald Trump win in big margins where he won before. So are there enough Democrats, particularly in these areas where we're seeing Joe Biden actually overperform Hillary Clinton in 2016?
Oh,
Will
God.
that be enough to carry the day?
Seriously.
Trump's overperforming Donald Trump.
I knew she was going to say
And
Clinton.
that's
I knew she was.
for Democrats right now.
I
And
don't
for him to
know.
say the evening's got about as expected, it's not what I was hearing about 6 hours ago. Okay, so what we're seeing is that the president is enormously competitive in Wisconsin, where he was not supposed to be competitive according to the polls. He's competitive in Michigan, where he was not supposed to be competitive according to the polls. And he's winning in Florida and winning in North Carolina. And so, I think it's going to come down to Pennsylvania. At the end of the day, I think if the president wins Pennsylvania, he's going to be reelected. And if he doesn't, he won't.
Matt Dab.
Well, I'm going to go along with Ram on this one because look at every single state and look at the polls. Really, if you fundamentally look at the polls, they've basically been in alignment, give or take a point or two, been in alignment with what we saw. We will soon find out a divergence from that.
The first divergence
from this is Arizona.
And how is he saying they're generally in alignment? All the polls said that Biden was going to crush him.
Somebody needs to go to bed. Somebody sleepy.
Go to bed soon. I think they've been drinking. I think they do have it open.
I know, right? Right here in my pocket. Underneath this deck, you don't know I got a tap right here. Filling it up, filling it up.
And there's a lot of mail left to count in North Carolina, so that race I don't think is over yet. But the first state that we see that switches is likely to be from Donald Trump to Joe Biden, and that's the most significant thing we're waiting on.
Not just the answer of who's the
I
president.
totally agree with Ram and with Matt, but I think that the story that we haven't talked about tonight, which is the popular vote. How much is Biden going to win the popular vote and
They're
still
saying Trump
see
locked up
this
Ohio.
enormous challenge in the Electoral College? And that's going to reignite all of that dialogue again. If this is a 5-point win,
We live in a blue
the
state.
popular vote,
Ew.
I think that there's going to be a lot of challenges in this country holding the country together.
7 out of the 8 last elections won by Democrats in the popular vote. John Carr, you get the last word here.
Well, I think there are dangers out there for Joe Biden in Pennsylvania by looking in Ohio. Tom, if you can pick up 2 counties that border Pennsylvania in Ohio, Trumbull and Mahoning, in both these counties, Donald Trump seriously outperformed what he did 4 years ago. Now, that's in Ohio. Ohio's one state, but way on the other side, key counties in Pennsylvania.
And what's it say? I can't see him.
Is it peeking or steadying out? Which way is it?
The Chinese yuan is crashing.
Oh.
Oh.
Why?
Interesting.
Trump.
I think he should be hard on them. I think whoever's in office should be hard on them. They're all too big for the britches, and they're stealing all of our tech, and nobody seems to be enforcing.
They're stealing everything.
I wouldn't recommend it. Anyone can do it in less than 30 minutes.
Well, the Japanese do it too. They don't really come up with their own tech. They actually take our tech and make it smaller and lighter.
Well, that was easy.
How would that?
When managing diabetes,
commercial.
you can't always
Oh,
stop for finger
commercials.
sticks.
They're really doing this
With the
commercial.
Freestyle Libre 14-day system, a continuous glucose monitor, you don't have to.
Oh.
With a painless 1-second scan, you can check your glucose with a smartphone, so you can stay in the moment. You can do it without finger sticks. Ask your doctor for a prescription today. And if you join the My Freestyle program, you can try the Freestyle Libre 14-day system for free. Learn more at myfreestyle.us.
Geico makes the claims process so easy. I can file and manage my claim all in the Geico app. It's not just easy, it's giving your dog your fitness tracker easy. Ah, good boy. Yes, you got it. Woo! Already got my 40,000 steps today. Can I get a what? No pain, no gain.
It's Geico Easy with fast and convenient claim service.
Look how fast I'm running.
That is good.
Wake up to real-time answers, real-time results the morning after
Coming up on midnight here in the East Coast, let's take a look at the map right now. Right now, Joe Biden leading in the popular vote. He's got 50%, 56 million votes, 57 plus to Donald Trump's 48%. In the Electoral College, he's won 15 states, 192 electoral votes, 18 states for Donald Trump, 118 electoral votes. I'm bringing on our political director, Rick Klein, right now, because Rick, we've been saying it, but now let's put some meat on the bones on this. This is going to be a long night. We are not going to know who the next president is tonight. It might be well into tomorrow or beyond before we do. Tell me everything you know from the key states that are still out there. Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Georgia, and North Carolina, about where the vote is, how long it's going to take.
Yeah, George, it's overwhelmingly likely that we're well into overtime in those states, particularly Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. We know that there's a lot of outstanding vote. In Georgia, it's primarily the urban counties. We've had some counting issues there, and we know that at some point they're going to basically have to resume tomorrow. And in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, election officials have been telling us for weeks that they're not going to be ready to have a complete vote count. In Wisconsin, we're expecting more information overnight. In Pennsylvania, though, it's going to be several days. I think it is now fair to assume that we're into an overtime scenario with several states on the line. I think North Carolina may be a little bit different, but the other four, they're all big states, George, are now very likely to head.
Anything crazy happen?
Not yet.
No. It takes more time. Not always, but it generally takes more time to check, verify, count a mail ballot than it does someone made at the ballot box.
Exactly. You have to go one by one, and it's one of the ironies of this surge in early voting that it may actually force election officials to take a lot longer on the back end. They've been preparing for this for weeks. They have been warning about this possibility, and it's now a probability, or even more than that we're talking about having to wait a while to get this complete and accurate count. We know that, at least on the Democratic side, they're starting to talk about lawyers. They're setting up an infrastructure to fight in the courts if necessary. But for now, we're going to wait for quite a while on the vote count. And keep in mind that in those three states, those upper Midwestern states, we're still looking at primarily day of vote, election day vote, which we know from all the polling and all the indications that heavily favors Donald Trump. So the Biden campaign is hoping to close that.
And again, you can't say this enough. I mean, we're also looking deep into where the vote is coming from. But both campaigns always expected the day of vote in those three states to favor Donald Trump.
Precisely. We knew that Joe Biden built up a lead in just about every state with any kind of early vote. Going into Election Day, the question was, can Donald Trump overcome that? And he has overperformed his margins in a bunch of states, and he has just about hit the expectations. There's a range of states, George, where it's almost uncanny. Where talking to Democrats and Republicans both, they knew there were numbers that Donald Trump had to hit to be competitive, and he's there almost to a 10th of a percentage point.
Dan Abrams, thank you, Rick. Dan Abrams, we talked about this moments ago. You guys are getting more relevant by the minute. Just walk people through what to expect in the coming hours and days.
Well, look,
Okay, so Montana now
Coming
just
hours apart from
went
preparation.
to Trump.
Right. I think that what you're going to see in the next
That
2
was
hours is
surprising.
legal teams gathering and sort of playing it out.
Surprises me it was
to
that
all the
close.
various possibilities that could occur. What happens if there's a fight in Pennsylvania? What happens if there's a fight in Michigan? What are the laws in Wisconsin? What are the recount laws? I mean, that's the first place we got to be looking at right now, which is the automatic recounts. For example, in the state of Pennsylvania, if it's within half a point, there's an automatic recount that will take place in the state. Those are going to be the first round of sort of legal issues. Round 2 is going to be, okay, now there's been a recount. Let's get down to the very specifics of ballot by ballot. But we're not there yet. So there's no question the lawyers are on hold. The lawyers are preparing. The lawyers are learning the laws, particularly in those 3 states. I'm sure they already know them, but they're going to be brushing up on the laws in those 3 states as they prepare for what could be litigation, getting down to the point of ballot
100%
by ballot
reporting.
in some of these states.
That's the point I wanted to bring to Kate Shaw.
So she might have lost by 32
It was Justice Scalia on his own who actually stopped the counting in the state of Florida.
That's right, and obviously that's a nightmare scenario, that it all comes down to one state, and there's the possibility of the Supreme Court intervening in a state process, right? Remember, elections are typically run at the state and local level, right? That is the sort of design.
That's what happened last time.
So it was, unusual doesn't even begin to count for the Supreme Court to essentially halt the
She
state
refused
process
to go
versus
over.
and then ultimately, essentially, to get a victory by
Because she says you gotta, this is her, I'm with you, I said why. She said you gotta understand Wyoming politics is very inbred, and she will have more influence if she doesn't challenge it because you get appointed to certain committees and stuff and build her credibility to run again. She goes, when you challenge races there, you're ostracized electorate. And she said, it's just not what you do in Wyoming.
Speaking.
Just very, very personal.
For a couple of missing teenagers.
Maybe this time she will challenge.
You know?
It was nice to see everybody.
You too.
We'll make it to
Thanks for coming. Thanks for having us.
very new tomorrow.
Callahan, good seeing you.
You too.
Take care.
At Carpet Exchange, we have everything for your
See you guys.
Man, I can't wait to talk to Apollo about that.
Area rugs, ports, and wonders clothes. If you can
I
walk
think
on
there's
it,
still a couple
we've
people
got
over there, isn't there?
over
Is anyone still in
1,000
the kitchen?
different styles, over
Couple people.
25,000
Yeah.
different colors.
Yeah.
We've got everything for
All
your
right. Well, I think so.
I hear somebody.
At Carpet Exchange, your floor store.
I hear a couple people over there.
Operated in Colorado for over 30 years. Carpet Exchange.
Yeah, I did.
Good. You want to take some home?
Love getting prices.
I think Sean and Melissa. I know, but it's daylight saving time. People get
Personalized coupons on
But man, Bethany was
and rewards like fuel points, all for prices that are lower than the everyday low. So go ahead, get lower than low. King Supers, fresh for everyone.
I don't know if there's any mail-ins and stuff still coming in,
Help Coloradans find
but 100% to me means no,
Our
right?
sales team takes a consultative approach
I don't
to
know
helping
how
our customers
they
find products.
that means 100% of the
We assign a
precincts
project
are
manager to each job.
But what does that have to do with mail? You know, I don't understand.
Satisfied with the end result. Our installers are factory trained craftsmen.
Yeah, last time she won
They were designed to be installed. And we
on
offer
the night,
limited
and then the
lifetime
mail-ins
warranty.
caused her to lose.
Call now to
So
schedule
that
a
makes me
free
think,
in-home
though, there's still
consultation.
mail-ins.
Call me Ishmael. Sure, a lot of people have read Moby Dick, but have they ever read Moby Dick in emoji? My name is Fred Benenson, and I'm the creator of Emoji Dick. People thought it was crazy. Then I got over $3,600 in crowdfunding, and I knew I wasn't the only one that wanted to see this masterpiece. Translating this book was like chasing my own whale, an emoji whale. But on this Colorado Gives Day, there are causes more worthy of your support. With so many nonprofits to choose from, you can find something that's important to you. Probably more useful.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. But if you don't know us, we want to introduce ourselves as Les Schwab Alignment and Brakes and Shocks and Wheels and Tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night. Because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer important tires to help keep you safe.
So, who's going to win the presidency?
Don't know yet, but so far Bethany lost by 32 votes.
Who?
Bethany Valdez in Wyoming.
32
Oh, no.
votes again?
Is that how close? It was closer than that last time. It was like 11.
No, the
wasn't
last
it?
time she won, yeah, she won on election night last time, and then there were mail-ins. So I don't know if there's still mail-ins to count. But as of right now, with 100% of the precincts
Oh,
reported,
no. Well, we had the forces out up there this year.
Take it easy, Spring.
Oh.
What,
Was that?
Take it easy, thank you.
was that a two-way?
Yeah.
An unprecedented voter turnout across the nation.
Take care, bud. Good to go.
Determine control of the U.S.
Yeah.
Look at those swing states. Who is taking the lead at this hour?
well, I'm trying to find out if there's still mail-ins to count, or whether it's
Paid family medical leave.
Okay, see you guys.
Have a good night.
We have live team coverage on this special edition of Denver 7 News at 10. Election night 2020 starts right now.
And settle in, everybody. It's going to be a long night because we start with the latest results on our presidential race. And as you look at the numbers right now,
If anyone knows what's
very
going on with
tight.
Bethany.
And Joe Biden with 50% to Donald Trump's 49%. But I apologize. I think we were supposed to be seeing the national numbers right now, and we'll keep watching here.
So remember, the candidate needs 270 electoral votes to win the presidency, and there is a good chance, I think a really, really good chance, we're not going to know who wins the White House tonight. And more people than ever are voting by mail this year, and well, in part, that's part of the problem. It can take longer to count. Now, on the road up to 270 electoral votes. As we go in the air right now, I believe Joe Biden had 209 electoral votes. We go back to that. He leads it right now. There it is, to 118 for Donald Trump. Again, the magic number 270, and I don't know that we're going to know who achieves that tonight.
Exactly. But again, as you well know, the race has been called here in Colorado, and Joe Biden takes the Centennial State. That much we know right now, so we will move on because we have so many races to get to tonight. We're also watching the numbers in the battleground states that typically lean one way, but then could be a surprise in this presidential election.
All right, we're going to start in Pennsylvania. The state is key both for Biden and for Trump. And as we go in the air, that is where we are. 51% reporting in the Keystone State. Donald Trump is ahead 55.8 to Biden's 41.7% in Pennsylvania. Now, if the president does not win Wisconsin and Michigan, he has to win Pennsylvania and retain the other states he won back in 2016. So where are we in Michigan, Wisconsin? Let's take a look at Michigan first, I believe we have. All right, 48% reporting. Trump is ahead 54 to 43% right now. Then in Wisconsin, that is Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Do we have the results for Wisconsin right now? All right, we don't have those. We'll circle back and get to Wisconsin in just a few minutes.
All right, let's move on, if we can, and look at Texas. And it certainly has been a long time since the state has played a significant factor in the presidential election. Texas, the state of Texas, which usually leans Republican, polls showed that one a toss-up as well. There you go. There are the numbers now. So right now the president is leading Joe Biden in Texas right now, 52% to Joe Biden's 46%. It is a state that has not gone Democratic since 1976. So keep in mind, Texas has 38 electoral votes up for grabs, which is only second to California's 55, and certainly a substantial number of votes. So, like in most states right now, we do expect a long night of counting in Texas.
On to Florida now, another big state, 29 electoral votes up for grabs there. Polls leading up to the election tonight showed a tight race, but right now Donald Trump is